Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. We're gonna go. Turn the heads left and right before you cross the street. Special rock and roll, special freestyle edition. Yours truly, this Wednesday, the 21st of May, and gotta commence, begin with our rock and roll gratitude. Grateful, thankful, my rent's paid, electricity bills paid, got food and coffee, and waiting for a little bit of sun. Maybe, maybe not. How about it? Perhaps, maybe. Perhaps later. Twist, turn those hips left and right before you cross the streets, and cross the streets carefully with a little bit of extra prudence, you know. You gotta be on that careful side, and that's what we're gonna be doing. Be careful and discard some of that garbage here, and then we rock and roll it, you know, for the butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, and the firefighters, the plumbers, the electricians. And even though, of course, there's a stop and a pedestrian crossing, still turn your heads left and right, because you never know, you know, the brakes might malfunction. The citizen driver might press the accelerator instead of the brakes. So freestyling, androgynous, aspie artist, athlete, philosopher, geopolitical, theoretical, honest, and theorist, is grateful, thankful that rent's paid, electricity bills paid, got food and coffee, and a bit stressed this morning, a bit moody, woke up early, you know, and at 5 a.m., but did some hours of geopolitics, you know, as I am an independent geopolitical, theoretical, honest, and theorist, and that's what I do on a daily basis: geopolitics, sports, fitness, rock and roll, and I'm meditating, of course, on the Golden Dome today. Gotta do those meditations, you know, on the Golden Dome, and because, of course, I want Canada to join, and my propositions, initiatives, of course, for the North American Collective are to put the hawk in it. So go, the Golden Dome Special Rock and Roll Edition, and loving me some of that red, my favorite color. And for the Golden Dome, that's what we gotta get doing, you know, because we need the North American Collective protected, and we need to get it for that Dragon Army Public Private Partnership for the 63. You can check past videos if you don't know what I'm referring to, of course. It's the protocols, initiatives, of course, which are convergent to my prognosis and my theories, and of course, somebody put some beautiful colors there. I kind of like it. You know, I kind of like it. You need some colors, rainbow colors in that black and white, So I'm always for the embellishments. You know, I'm a pro-labor and love universal revolutionary centrist. Financially stressed, struggling, but my rent's paid, electricity bills paid, got food and coffee, and you know how I do it. Freestyle rock and roll on the road, Montreal, Hawk Island, another special rock and roll March edition. Special for my anonymous friend who wasn't my friend because of the money, for the teachers, the bakers, the nurses, the firefighters, the plumbers, the electricians, those on the roads. It's not all about Wall Street. I mean, it is, you know. It's about the individual and the collective. We need a real rebalance. I believe I bring something to the table. Not ALL, you know, but some rock and roll and some geopolitics. And today is a Golden Dome Special Edition, but go Golden Hawk Dome. Hawk, H-A-W-K, my totem bird, Hawk, here in Montreal, Hawk Island, Montreal, aka H-A-W-K, Hawk. Like that hawk bird, my totem bird, you know, my favorite bird, the H-A-W-K, 4 letters. To the hawk, flip those wings, and we need to put that hawk into the Golden Dome, and calling Canada to put 44.9 billion, almost 45, join with the United States over a 3.5-year period, double it for 7. So basically it's 93 billion, but split in two. 93 billion over 7 years with tranches of 3.5, 42 months tranches, and based on my protocols and initiative for the North American defense parallel to creating the Dragon Army, which have been advocating in continuously since COVID, since survived COVID in February 2020. You know, and the Dragon Army to be a 21st century public-private partnership, citizen integrated security and service and defense only and solely for SSD, you know, for security, service, and defense. And that's what it is with that, security, service, and defense. And we're gonna check a little bit of that fridge here in the morning. Oh, somebody put some of that fridge, and let's see some food there, and got some food. And what is this? Is there something there? Oh, 3 little patties. I'm gonna take those. Thank you. That means dankeschön. And you know, we got some more food here. Let's see a little bit of that. So I'm gonna take some food. I'm gonna take, I don't know what this is. It looks good. Let's check it out. A little bit of that food, and you know, I'm gonna take these two. You know, so I'm gonna take this food and gonna leave some for the others, and that's how we're gonna rock and roll it. Thank you for the food. Starts with food security, super important, and I gotta be grateful. I'm gonna check out this one here. I'm gonna put it on go, and you know, is there something there for somebody else to make a little bit of that sugar? Sugar, actually I need sugar, so I'm gonna take some sugar, so that's it. Thank you. And this I'm gonna leave. So that I'm grateful, thankful, you know, for sugar. So I don't have to buy it because I'm financially stressed. So I'm really thankful, grateful for this food that I'm gonna get here. I left something for others. I'm gonna backpack it, and we're gonna go, of course, on the rock and roll, and as we're gonna go around about it, and gonna thank the teachers, the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, because I'm financially stressed. So this little bit of extra financial help here helps, and gonna stack it up, and just gonna put a little bit of extra weight. You know, I'm just gonna put my backpack here, and I'm gonna put the red gloves. These red were gifted to yours truly in 2018. Right when I started challenging Donald Trump, I still am challenging Donald Trump to a boxing match on the Canadian border due to the imposition of those tariffs, which are a mistake on Canadian aluminum and steel, and furthermore the 25%. So we're gonna put that there, and got these three little patties I'm gonna share with my anonymous friend. He's got carne, pollo, picante. Oh, there were several, but somebody had took, so gonna get those half for me, for my anonymous friends. So gonna stack those at the bottom. Thank you, you know, food producers. And when you're financially stressed like I am, although my rent's paid, electricity bill's paid, you know, a little bit of food helps, and that's what we gotta get doing with that. And got the sugar. I think it's open, but it has this bit, and gonna smell it and taste it when I get back home. Otherwise, it's probably good. I'm gonna taste it now, see if it's good now. Oh, it bursted up. Smell, taste. Yeah, it's good to go, and that's all we gotta put there. Put this little food there, and that's it. Now I can put these back in the backpack, and these are the red gloves, you know, when my anonymous friend gifted me the red gloves about in 2018 after I started challenging Donald Trump to a boxing match. And thank you for the gift. This was a raincoat, and just in case it rains, you know, gonna have to put it just in case it's raining. Gonna have to put it and stack it in, and that's what we're gonna get doing with that, and put it on the stack and put it on the go, and that's what we're gonna get doing. And now the backpack has about 44 pounds, so it's gonna add a little bit of extra weight. So I'm double joyous now, and I gotta give a shout out, you know, to those who made the donation, to the food producers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, the firefighters, the plumbers, electricians, as we're gonna go on this Dragon Workout Rock and Roll March, you know. As an independent artist, athlete, philosopher, you know, I have that Asperger's, so I live with this neurodivergent, which is not a mental illness. It is a neurodivergence, makes me predisposed to special interest, also known as obsessive interest, and special weird social mannerisms, you know, which sometimes seem odd and sometimes seem bizarre, you know, from a certain perspective. I'm gonna turn my head left and right here as I cross the street prudently, as I'm gonna go dropping in south and north and go around about it, you know, as we're about to go. And this is what we're doing, you know, for the North American Civilizational Complex. It's a special special go Golden Dome go with the backpack, you know, the announcement of the Golden Dome production. And I gotta give a beautiful creamy, as you can see, a little cars on the way, and we explore Hokkaido, Montreal metropolis. You know, it's 2.5 million people. It's a big island. It's not a small island. It's 2.5 million people, and I live on this island. And here in a past life, previous incarnation, past life, and sometimes was born a man, a woman, because I'm a mystic. You know, you just gotta read that George Patton's Through a Glass Darkly. Let's put my backpack properly. Gotta put it on, and gotta tighten it a little bit, because now I got a little bit on the heavy side. Not that heavy. I'm used to heavier than this, but I gotta adjust it, you know, for the back to properly do the march, because it's gonna be a more than 5 hours today. Yesterday did a slow one, not a slow, but less than I usually do. I usually do more than 4 hours because I average about 4 hours. Red, 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 my favorite color. I try to average a minimum of 20 hours cumulative from Sunday night till Friday at midnight, so, but the week before I kind of did a little bit of extra, I did a few hours when I did the most from 2025, because usually I do more during the spring, summer and autumn, and winter I do a little bit less, not by much, but a few hours a week. So I try to do a minimum of 20 hours so that I average of 4 hours a day, basically a minimum 4 hours a day, but I have to average 20 minimum weekly. So yesterday I did an hour and a half, so today I'm going to do 5, and that means that I have to increase to 6 and then 7, and more than 5 today, more than 6 tomorrow, and more than 7 for Friday. So that's gonna get it to 20 minimum, or I could add from last week because I did like 26 last week, whatever the case may be. So it's basically my fitness journey, got a little bit of weird Asperger's. This is peculiar to Asperger's, we have this neurodivergence, and this is just how our brain functions sometimes, in weird, peculiar ways of communicating our thoughts and propositions. And when we do analysis or whatever we're involved, where we do, that's how beautiful. And me, it's geopolitics 24/7, rock and roll 24/7, and fitness and sports. Those are my 3 holy trinity of special interest, also known as obsessive interest. But I don't use the terminology obsessive, because obsessive is more, of course, of a negative term than rather than what Asperger's is a neurodivergence, is not a mental illness. And I am, of course, neurodivergent. I'm neurodivergent, and today I march as I march always, for the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the truckers, the plumbers, the doctors, those in the daycare changing some diapers, the teachers, the electricians, the workers of the public, those picking up the garbage, cleaning the streets of the North American Collective, for that fusion. My way to fuse Canada, United States best. My brothers and sisters, fellow Quebecers, Canadians, the king is absent, and my brothers and sisters in the USA, this Democratic Republicans, public-private point of view for the rehabilitation of the North American Collective. And we need to mass finance billions and billions and billions to rebuild the North American inner urban cities, aka the ghettos. And we need to get some trucks. Let's go, billionaires, put some billions and let's finance, and all this stuff, economic times, some trucks from the Walmarts, the Costcos, and all the other big Maxis here in Quebec, to stack them up and give some goods, give some toys, and stack them up and go across the 63, 50 states, 10 provinces, and 3 territories, to bring some joy to the youth, the children, by mass donations. I am financially stressed, but I got trillions of kisses. By those trillions of kisses, I put on the table 718 trillions of kisses. Pledge your allegiance, legions to our family. That is, of course, the rock and roll song 24/7. It's pledge your allegiance, legions to our family, and friends with benefits only from now on. Lost a lot of friends, made new ones, and I got my own neurodivergence and my own ritual routines, which I am flexible to change, flexible to especially economic, financial, commercial, because I'm financially stressed. So I'm open for business 24/7, especially when it comes to my holy trinity of special interests, which I kind of been working for years. And with my routine, sometimes the routine, of course, is a specialized kind of ritualized like routine, geopolitics in the morning. I said I'm gonna leave at 8, then I said I'm gonna do, actually I said 7:18, then 7, I delayed it to 7:44. I watched some more geopolitics in the morning, then I delayed it to 8:30, then 9, and finally I left it was around 11 minutes past 9, kind of like that, around that time. So I said, wow. So because geopolitics really is my special interest, so I couldn't help but watch a few, of course, news from Canada, United States, and elsewhere. I watch, of course, local. Usually when I say local, economic, news-wise, or whatever the case, I refer to the North American Collective. So Canada, United States, and of course Mexico is included in North America. And of course the islands, Haiti, Cuba, Dominican Republic, they're part of North America. Usually when I say local, usually I refer to the North American Collective. When I say local, it's probably Canada, Quebec. When I say local, it's the island. which I reside in, which I live in. Hawk, HAWK, big metropolis island, second most populated city in Canada, 7th or 8th. North America when it includes Mexico, you know. So it's just 24/7 with my brain, and my psychic energies are directed towards geopolitics, sports and fitness, and rock and roll. And I've been on the fitness journey since 2017. I have been and will continue to call for the mass financing thereof and encouragement. You know, Aspies, we need to be like myself. We need to be encouraged and supported in those things, because unfortunately, due to this neurodivergence and the fact that our brain is different, I'm gonna go the other way like that. Our brain is different, and our special interest, aka obsessive interest, usually are preoccupied, and they take a little bit of that preoccupation and of our time to the detriment of other activities, you know. But I mean, I try to keep the best protocols of hygiene that were kept during COVID, you know, to the best of my ability. I urge all to do so, because we got germs, bacteria, microbes. So as we're in the public, you know, we need to get that germs, bacteria, microbes, and that's what we're gonna need to do with that, and that's what we need to get doing with the LOV, you know. So it's something which I gotta get doing with that, you know. So that's what we gotta get doing. So the germs, bacteria, and microbes exist, and I don't know what caused COVID. And well, I'm liking how they did that top there. Construction workers, and of course I am calling for the building of the North American People's Imperial Coliseum on the Canadian-US border to be 11 times bigger than the Caesar Superdome. Before it was used to be known as the Caesar Superdome, used to be known as the Mercedes-Benz, where my 49ers lost to the Ravens, one of my top 5 favorite Super Bowls, known as the Bro Bowl, Harbor Bowl, or Blackout Bowl. Those surnames or nicknames for that Super Bowl, where my 49ers lost to the Ravens, Baltimore Ravens. My Niners give some charity, NFL, NHL, NBA, MLB, and construction workers, let's build that North American People's Imperial Coliseum for sporters in perpetuities, and where the inauguration event is going to be Dragon versus Trump on the Canadian-US border. And I'm calling for the building of the Forgotten Goddess Temple, Forgotten Goddess Temple, Forgotten Goddess Temple, Forgotten Goddess Temple, and that's how we're going to get doing with that, and build a Forgotten Goddess Temple, and the Rainbow People's Palace for my fellow LGBTQ community, a neurodivergence, and the house or the dragon, the scarlet, crimson, scarlet, crimson, our shades are red, you know. So those 4 that I will to build, and I gotta salute the construction workers on those cranes as they go. So gotta give them some loving, you know. Sometimes it's risky business up on those cranes, so I gotta salute as I live carpe diem it every day, you know. Since I died of COVID, I thought that was it for me, my last chapter in 2020, between February and March 2020. I thought I was gonna die, and I said that's it for me, and I survived. Here I am marching in steel toe boots for the farmers, butchers, bakers, nurses, truckers, daycare workers, ambulance drivers, electricians, the plumbers, those in the daycare workers, those in the warehouses, those doing some of that fast food across the 63, across the North American Collective, you know. It's Arbeit, and unfortunately, because I have this neurological mental condition, not a mental illness, an Aspie brain is different. So my brain is different. I have a neurodivergence, and these mutations, so an Asperger brain has mutations. So my brain has mutations, as Aspie's brains have mutations. It has mutations. So those mutations make, of course, that I am predisposed to special interest, and those special interests preoccupy my holy daily routine, and that's what we gotta get doing with that, and that's what we gotta get doing on the go, you know. So basically what it is with that's what we gotta be doing, and of course my special interests preoccupy my whole daily routines and daily life, and that's what it is, you know. Special interest in the way we communicate. So the way we communicate our thoughts, feelings, and emotions, how we express themselves, can seem neurodivergent and can seem a bit awkward, you know. Can seem a bit awkward and weird and strange, and of course parallel to whatever else, whatever the neurotypicals interactions with the world, being that they're neurotypicals. That's what it is with that. And me, I'm part of this. It's less than 1%, is less than half of a percentile. 0.44% of people in the world have Asperger's, and that's what it is. And that's what it is with that. And that's how we're gonna go. Basically what it is, neurodivergence, being that I have Asperger's, being that is this neurological mental divergent condition, makes me predisposed to those special interests, and those special interests are of course something which we gotta be interjected on, and those is something which are gotta be parallel to whatever the neurotypicals constitution is, which you are the 99.56%, right? 99.56%, of course, being that of course I am 0.44%, 0.44%. So me as a neurodivergent, I'm part of this tiny small fraction of the population of 0.44%. So basically, me as a 0.44%, you of course 0.44%, and you the 99.56%. So do the mathematics. So it's less than 1 out of 300, you know? Less than 1 out of 300. Less than 1 out of 300. So there's not a lot of Aspies. In other words, expressed differently, Aspies, we are a small, tiny fraction of the population. Our brains have these mutations, and due to those mutations, the way we interact socially, the way we express ourselves sometimes, or our bodily movements, or the way we approach certain subjects, or the way of course we are less able socially, interactions and maintaining friendships and employments, because there's a lot of confusion and a lot of misunderstandings to what Asperger's is. It's a lot of confusion, it's a lot of mislabeling as a mental illness. It's not a mental illness. It's these mutations in the brain make us that our brain functions in certain dimensions and certain parallels, of course, which are of course our special interest, and that's what it is with that. So our special interests are of course focused, concentrated, super intense when we do those activities, when we are involved in those activities, whether it's somebody might be geography, somebody might be science, somebody might be computer science, whatever the special interest is, 1 or 2 special interests. When an Aspie is involved in those special interests, an Aspie can be super focused, super concentrated, intense, super intense. Again, due to these mutations. But for us, from our perspective, how we are, these words are not applicable in such a manner, because for us it's a natural thing, you know? Because of these mutations in the brain. Because of these mutations in the brain. So I am personally somebody who doesn't like violence. I don't like violence. I lived, that's beautiful. Look at that. That's beautiful. So that intensity, that concentration, those mutations make us a part of this tiny minority. 0.44%, eh? It's not a lot of people. It's 99.56%. Unless I lost a lot of friends and I lived my own trauma, was attacked by surprise a few years ago several times, and hit my head on the concrete, had a dislocated right arm, went to the Jewish general, and my right arm was kind of cracked back, and put on some meds. I was like in a coma, and again, there's no medication for Asperger's. It's just our brain is mutated. You cannot operate the brain. You cannot reverse these mutations. These are partly genetical, and according to, I said in my prior videos that it's BBC, but it's actually ABC documentary. It could be that there's other documentaries there that supposedly there's Asperger's is actually part of an evolutionary process. A next step towards humans' evolution. An evolutionary process in humanity's next evolutionary step. Now, I don't know much about that. I have to revise and rewatch the documentary and make an analysis on it. What I do know is that I have it, and I've been diagnosed by several people for many, many years, until finally about 3.5 years ago during COVID, I accepted it because I didn't want to, wear the Asperger's label. I'm different, and I'm different, and I'm neurodivergent, and I'm part of this tiny small fraction of the population of 0.44% compared to the vast majority of 99.56%. So that is something which I have to manage my characteristics, because they're not symptoms. they're not symptoms. They're not symptoms. Symptoms is for a mental illness. An Aspie doesn't have symptoms. It's characteristics. But I have to always work on those characteristics whether they are, of course, getting too close to people when conversing, discussing, not to breach personal space, because Aspies tend to get so close by 6 inches and close to face that somebody might get intimidated and think what's going on, and might feel threatened or uncomfortable. But you have to verbalize those things with Aspies, because I can acquiesce and I can, of course, make whatever comportments, make whatever adjustments are need to be made. So I'm willing to compromise a lot, just ask policy, and I've been working a lot on my characteristics, and I'm just different, and I lost a lot of employment, a lot of opportunity, a lot of friends due to it, and I'm just different. And Aspies were different, we interact with the world differently. Our brain has these mutations, and I live with it, and I'm going to live with it, I guess, per the rubber, till the end, whatever the end may be, So Aspies were not mental. It's not a mental illness. It's a neurological mental divergent condition, and we got a lot of work to do for the environment. And I have empathy and compassion. It's just that, unfortunately, it's our way of showing compassion is usually by action, by offering something. If we can't offer something, we're gonna just offer whatever. Financially, economically, I am financially stressed. $10,000 in debt, rents paid, electricity bills paid, got food and coffee at home, so in the backpack as well. So I rock and roll now for the Golden Dome, and I ask for the Canada-United States joint, United States to Canada joint public-private partnership to support my dream, the dancing goddess in the dragon kingdom. That is fundamentally my dream, and being an androgynous pansexual Aspie artist athlete, mystic who knows about past lives and reincarnations. I was born in the United States 3 times post 70-76, once as a woman, twice as a man. Served in the same United States Armed Forces, same U.S. Army that was formed, the Continental Army by George Washington, and of course served in another same army of the USA, and 2 different wars, 156 years apart. So 156 years apart. We're quite different generations, but yeah. And I was born here, a man, a woman. Sometimes you get that 50-50 now. I'm androgynous, Aspie artist, pansexual, and got for the North American Collectif, my Trinity or theory is best where we are now. And again, when it comes to geopolitics, the kingdom of geopolitics, which we're going to delve into deeply today, is of course my kingdom, my realm, my domain. Even this morning I delayed my my march. I wanted to leave really early with the dawn. Saw the dawn at around 5 something. It was a beautiful red in rising, red in setting. Every second there's a sunrise, sunset, and on the west coast they're getting their sunrise now, because we got to subtract those 3 hours. So they're about 6:44 a.m. in Vancouver, San Francisco, and it's Montreal to San Francisco and back for the 50 plus 10 plus 3. That's the 63 for the Collectif, the kingdom, the dancing goddess in the dragon kingdom, which is fundamentally my dream for a public-private partnership across the collective North American civilizational complex across North America. And that's how this Aspie is proposing this marriage, special public-private partnership marriage. And if I marry somebody, I already asked, proposed, but I gotta know twice, and maybe I'll get a yes one day. I don't know if I'm gonna propose again. I'm gonna get kicked out. I'm gonna go live on the mountain, my second home. Already do live on the mountain, my second home, and live a little bit on that mountain, my second home. Sometimes, you just gotta take it carpe diem, as I carpe diem it every day, since I died of COVID. Since I died of COVID in 2020, February, March, and I got 3 vaccines, triple vaccinated, and that's how we gotta get rock and rolling with that, and that's how we gotta get doing with the love, and we gotta get on that beautiful majesty here, beautiful majesty here. See, what's beautiful about Hawk Island is that we got green spaces, and we got green, and we got that triple peak mountain right between the east and the west of the island, and south, not exactly between the north and the south. It's south, but it's exactly between the east and the west. My second home, Mount Royal, where we go often, and many videos we go to my second home, Mount Royal, and it's got 3 peaks, Mount Royal and West Mount and Outremont, the 3 peaks. It's called Mount Royal, the 3-peak mountain system. And here we got some birds, some greenery, and always happy to get a little bit of that greenery, as you can hear some birds chirp. Hear the birds? birds. Yeah, they're somewhere upstairs, somewhere I can't see them, but here you can come and relax and get the birds chirping, and my auntie there, cousins, my special North American family, because I consider Quebecers, Canadians my family, and you can admire beautiful greenery like this, and it's really nice here, and I love coming here. I love working out here. I love doing cadence. We're gonna do that cadence a little bit later. And for the 63, the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, the plumbers, the teachers, the electricians, the IT workers. I need some IT workers, some of all. On the table, I put 718 trillions of kisses, some rock and roll and geopolitics, and that's my special interest. Us Aspies, we have special interests, and those special interests preoccupy our whole daily routine and rituals, right? And sometimes, unfortunately, to the detriment of other things. But for years and years and years, I have my routine. I do my geopolitics, and I'm an artist as well, an artist, athlete, philosopher, independent geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist and mystic. And geopolitics is my kingdom. It's 24/7 study, analysis, revision, study, analysis, revision, study, analysis, revision. In 2019, October, November, I predicted what's happening now. I predicted that there's going to be an international conflagration on the horizon in the coming 7 years, a World War III, with several levels of layers of probability of a nuclear weapon use. But I put a kind of in between 49% to 51%, so kind of a maybe, close to 50-50, but it was more than 2/3, more than 66.6% biological weaponry to be used. Bioweaponry, I put 2/3 probability. So I don't know, COVID, there was a revision, they said that it was made in a lab, and my belief on COVID has-been will be this. So first and foremost, I believe that the coronavirus, COVID virus, was transmitted from snakes to human beings. Snakes to human beings. Second, I don't know for sure. There's a doubt in my theory, in my belief, that it was snakes. Which I love snakes. Myself personally, I love snakes and spiders and creatures like that. I don't mind. Me, I guess I'm a little bit of a Aspie snake. You probably see me. So, Aspie snakes. I don't know, but I don't know for sure. Third, I do know I cannot rule out another possibility, right? So first, I believe that COVID was transmitted from snakes to human beings. Second, I don't know for sure. Third, I cannot rule out another possibility. Fourth dimension to that trinity is what I do know for sure, without a doubt, is that before COVID, I predicted that there's going to be an international conflagration, and that I had COVID and I almost died. It was like death, pestilence, and disease. It was really like death, pestilence, and disease. It was really like death, pestilence, and disease. I really thought that was my last chapter. I survived it, and here I am. Can you see how my brain now works? I check this. I see the trucks going east and west on the highways. My brain now functions and directs all this event, of which is me and the highways, and puts it in on my geopolitical analysis, and with the principles that my protocols are for SSD only, for the North American Collectif, Binational Canada, United States Joyce, SSD meaning Security, Service, and Defense, and based on my new 911 protocols for the North American SSD, total security, total service, total defense, total security, total service, total defense, total security, total service, total defense, and how I see them going east and west. I see them going east and west, and that means that we're open for sabotage and espionage. Some elements of which we made powerful enemies might employ underworld actors. So those are things which we gotta keep in mind, as an analyst. But myself, see, I'm also open to vulnerabilities, and I made a lot of meditations. So even our leaders, open to, for example, financial blackmail, sexual blackmail. No need to, I'm a rainbow dragon, little clit, dick clit, tiny little scar to the goddess best. Sometimes goes that rocket rainbow dragon, and I'm 50-50. I like my BDSM switch, I wouldn't mind being married. I actually would probably be loving to be married in a cuckold marriage. Rock and roll for the cuckolds. No need to spy on me. Secret services of China and armies of China, armies of Russia, stay over there. Don't cross. Don't come to North America. We're good. We're gonna do this new emerging collective. We're gonna rebuild the ghettos together. We're gonna rebuild the ghettos, and mass finance the reconstruction of the inner urban cities of Canada and United States joint. And we're gonna build that golden dome. We're gonna put that hawk in it, HAWK. We're gonna build more sats, and we're gonna do some more love and wood action, you know. So as we're gonna heal here, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, Dragonomy. Tears, blood, sweat, and tears, push-ups, hawks, hugs. We channel the aggression with hugs. And just like after my 49ers lost in the Pro Bowl, aka blackout ball, aka hardball ball, you know, the quarterback got sacked a few times, and my 49ers lost by 3, but the quarterback and my 49er quarterback, Garoppolo, and it was got before Jimmy, and Ray Lewis, and after a hard, aggressive game, they still hugged and say, good game, and love you, and sportsmanlike, just like me and Donald Trump, we're gonna fight on the Canadian-US border to inaugurate the mega complex, the biggest sports arena, sports coliseum for total sports, 24/7 sportis in perpetuitis. That's gonna be the motto, sportis in perpetuitis, Latin for sports or fitness in perpetuity, 24/7 on the Canadian-US border, where me and Donald Trump, we're gonna fight, because I've been able to challenge Donald Trump to a boxing match ever since 2018, when Donald Trump did the mistake to impose tariffs on Canadian aluminum and steel, you know, to impose tariffs on Canadian aluminum and steel. Just as we did a mistake to impose tariffs now. It's not the way to invite us, Granddaddy Trump. To my fellow Canadians, the king is absent. No need to pledge allegiance to the King of England. It's time for the Republic. It's time for the fusion. It's time for my DRT, debt refusion theory, for total SSD and the creation of the two complementary covenant and cooperative institutions, public-private partnership, the Dragon Army, aka North American Integrated SSD Legion, for the 63 legions for each new state, 10 provinces, 50 states, 3 territories, for the 50 plus 10 plus 3, 13 for total SSD, total security, total service, total defense, security, service, and defense, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, and the Dancing Goddess Army, aka North American Integrated Dancing, because dancing is my favorite sport. And yeah, Rainbow Dragon is Priestess, HNNH Priestess Hana, Rainbow Dragon is Priestess Hana, Rainbow Dragon is Priestess Hana, serve, and to serve and defend. And we gotta get some of those healing, man, you know, here, you know, because we're on the verge of World War III, and here we're a new collective. Got freedom tatted up, but freedom is new under the sun, King Solomon. Freedom is new under the sun, King Solomon. Freedom is new under the sun, and freedom got to be ensured, and a little bit of joy and liberty, and embracing the body, you know. The body is a temple for pleasure and purpose, and that's all we got to get doing here. And I live carpe diem it every day. If you're black, white, men, women, you know, if you want to LOV with me, come love with me, man. You gotta be 18 though. I guess consent age, Montreal, Quebec can't hear. Montreal, Quebec is 16, but I'm gonna be applying the same rules as when you go buy some liquor, some alcohol, or cannabis, marijuana, MJ. That cannabis, that weed is legal coast to coast since 2019. So just like that, when you go to buy that weed, and you gotta show the cards before you get into the store to buy that marijuana, that weed, that cannabis. Just the same applications is gonna be for if you want to come LOVE with me, you know. Black, white, men, women, you know. I am androgynous, pansexual, friends with benefits only. I wish I could afford a massage therapy session. I'm financially stressed, but gonna take a bath, and please finance the public workers, millionaires, billionaires, Wall Street, buy, sell, trade now, future option, put stocks, tariffs, trade war, blah blah blah. The DRT best for the North American collective, the D that R refusion theory, my theory best. And of course, please finance those who pick up the garbage, the recycling, the compost, the public workers. And see now how my brain works. I see all these trucks, plenty of trucks. I know that they're transporting goods which are essential for the North American collective, and the prices are increasing, so we got those supply chains, and that's how we gotta get doing. See that big I gotta see blurred. I was prescribed some glasses, but I guess I'm gonna go see again. And Yeah, that's a public truck. So those public workers of the North American Collective finance them a massage therapy session, firefighters with it, public nurses, doctors, because they deserve it, earning more than yours truly, and that's why we gotta go doing a little bit of that. Oh, the sun, my Pope the King, is bursting through the clouds, so gotta get that DRT and gonna discuss a little bit of that debt refusion theory, and again see how my brain works due to Asperger's, geopolitics being my special interest. I always meditate now on everything that's transpiring in Canada, United States. I know that these trucks are going east and west, west and east. You know, I don't know exactly what they're carrying, but I gotta know everything that's coming in through the airports and the ports, through the ports and the airports, and for total security, total service, total defense. The new 911 Dragon Army protocols for total security, total service, total defense, because 911 is Canada, United States joint. Canada, United States joint. And we got, of course, work to do. A lot of good things, and we got to do a lot of good things. Sometimes, you know, we got to get second chances, and sometimes, you know, professionalism and, you know, professionalism and the individual and the collective. It's always a balance. The individual and the collective, my freedom, my security, my liberty, somebody else's, and working on being less selfish. You know, don't pretend that I'm totally selfless. I'm not. I would love, if I afforded, I would right away this weekend, Sabbath, I would go to get a massage therapy session, a good massage, you know, a good massage an hour, and that's all we got to get drilled with that, and blah blah blah. You know, there's halfway you got to get some action, and sometimes you got to get that cleaning, and you got to get that going. That's all we got to get it on to do, you know, and we got to be mindful of all the things which we have, you know, in North American Collective, you see, and our security forces, our police, they're individuals, part of the institutions. I believe the creation of the two public-private partnership, PPP. Let's go, brothers, Bill Gates, Scorpio, the stars, brothers, Scorpio, and support the creation of the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom, the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom, the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom. Two complementary covenant and cooperative institutions, the Dragon Army, aka North American Integrated Security Service and Defense Legion, with the DGA, the Dancing Goddess Army, for cleaning the environment, the environmental cleaning, environmental action and education. Because you see, look at a beautiful yellow. I love yellow flowers. I just love those yellow flowers. How they look and give me some joy. Some of that kisses in the hearts for the beautiful flowers. Mother Nature goddess, that's the goddess, greatest artist. Yeah, rock and roll also, part of Geopolitiks 24/7, and I love yellow flowers, as you know, from years and years and years of past videos, and you know, I do my long vlogs, marching workout dances. I got a little bit of sweat now, and you know, it's time to discuss a little bit of that DRT in a bit, just to finalize, you know, on Geopolitiks. Today is for Go Golden Dome. We need to put that hawk in. Golden Hawk Dome, North American Hawk. In the Golden Dome, you gotta add that North America, but we're gonna fuse this North through North Strong and Free. Is not enough. You gotta add some LOVE with the brothers and sisters and land of the free and the home of the brave, where I was born in a past life, was in his street thrice, 3 times, and once a woman, twice a man. You gotta add some love also, you know, both. We gotta add some love. So the kingdom, fuse Canada, United States, get rid of the border, create a common passport, and we need to do a great census to see who's eligible to serve in the two complementary covenant and cooperative institutions which we're going to create. The DGA, Dancing Goddess Army, the North American Integrated Dance League for environmental education and action, with the Dragon Army for total service, total security, total defense, and of course to get it on the go and to get rid of the border. We need to do a great census to see everybody who's been living here since 29, since let's say 7 years, since COVID, February 2020, and since more than 7 years, because more than 7 years ago, before that time, I was depressed and suicidal, and in summer 2017, I crossed Canada coast to coast. I went out west, Vancouver, British Columbia first, Then went in September 2017, Halifax, Nova Scotia. So I coast to coast, ocean to ocean it. And that event made me realize, and I had a revelation. I said so many things to see, to do in Canada, that I had an awakening, like so many things to see, to do. So I started my fitness journey back then, and I lost between 80 and 93 pounds. I established a strong esprit de corps with my fellow Canadians, Quebecers, Canadians, North Americans, whom I consider family, and of course all ALL who come to join us here, to come to join us. And I'm a centrist, pro-labor and love universal revolutionary centrist, and the pro-labor and love universal revolutionary centrist is something which we gotta do. And my centrism is tied for the North American collective centric, and is for the tied hand in hand with the Trinity of theories, the CIT, Citizen Integration Theory, the DFT, Democratic Fusion Theory, and the DRT, the Debt Refusion Theory, for the collective North American civilizational complex. And that is my dream. So they're totally, when I say the universal revolutionary centrism, keep in mind that is North American centric, Democratic Republican here, and public-private partnership based, and is completely tied in with my Trinity of theories, which is to be implemented for the 21st century. The CIT, Citizen Integration Theory, the DRT, Debt Refusion Theory, and the DFT, the Democratic Fusion Theory, which we need to do ASAP, establishing those new 4G, 5G towers and getting that clean, because we're open for mass espionage and sabotage. We made powerful enemies, and we have to be realistic of the geopolitical zones and geopolitical realities of which we are today. And myself, I have certain vulnerabilities, but don't try to blackmail me in any way. I don't have any money. I got a little bit of, tried somebody supposedly with some sexual blackmail. I said, well, you would have known that I don't have Bitcoin. I don't really believe in cryptocurrency. I believe in my DRT and the UE, and me working with Bill Gates, Scorpio brother Bill Gates, and all public-private partnership institutions. And I got those trillions of kisses, and, I do that adult, and, I have Asperger's, and yeah, I masturbate and all, but I stopped watching pornography. So if they would have known me, whatever, online, they would have seen that I did not watch pornography in more than 3 years and a half. Since 2021, about June or September 2021, anywhere between June 2021 and September 2021. So it's like 4 years soon. It's gonna be 4 years. Soon it's gonna be 4 years that I have not watched pornography. So I got a few months ago, I think November, October last year, I got like a suspicious email. So I said, BS, if you would have known me, you would have known that I stopped watching pornography long ago, that I stopped watching pornography long ago. So we got to get doing with that. And my fellow citizens here, Quebecers, Canadians, my family from the North American Collective, and I stopped watching pornography about 3 years and a half ago. Almost 4 years. It's going to be soon. Summer between June and September 2021. I have it somewhere marked exactly the date on one of the agendas on my journals that I kept, and that's about it. Not because I oppose it morally. I don't condone it. I don't eulogize. I don't oppose it morally. If you watch, it's your business, but myself, I stopped watching, but I do masturbate, and it's friends with benefits only, I'm not looking for a romantic, just pleasure, purpose, business, open for work, and it's friends with benefits only. I really want a massage more than anything else, and massage exchanges, and my fellow, LGBTQ community. I'm pansexual, androgynous pansexual. I love that BDSM switch, but it's always consent, hygiene, consent, and you gotta be an adult though. Gotta be adults, not playing around with that, and that's some standards, some says, but of course I am neurodivergent, so if I start discussing about geopolitics and you have no interest whatsoever in geopolitics, you say directly, I'm not interested, and that's it, that's all. You say not interested, and that's it, that's all. And if you are, we can work, we can do rock and roll, we can fitness, and those are my holy trinity of special interest, of which we are now, of course, if we are involved in those special activities, whatever the case may be, like myself being an independent geopolitical theoretical honest and theorist, whose rent's paid, electricity bill's paid, and got that food, got that coffee, and got a little bit of that rock and roll 24/7 for the butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, firefighters, waiting on the light, and always meditating where this light was built. I wonder the traffic lights, where the components of the traffic lights were built or manufactured, and when, of course, how do they actually work in the context of the geopolitical realities of which we have today, that of course they're open for potential sabotage and espionage, and we got to get that confluence of things, and we got to get on that rock and roll. I'm going to press again here. Just wait for the light to pass, and that's what we're gonna get doing with that, and so we're gonna get doing on the go. And here we are, you know, in the middle of, I get a little bit of that CO2, so I gotta take a few steps away. And you know, with Asperger's, being an Aspie, sometimes our bodily movements are awkward and weird, and sometimes I have clumsiness. Now when I am involved, love you crow, the crow knows my secrets, you know. Yeah, I know. Sometimes I'm a queen of spades, sometimes I'm a queen of spades, sometimes I'm a queen of spades. No need to spy on me, Russia Secret Service and China Secret Service. Play a black and white and rainbow, you know, and BDSM switch, and queen, king of spades, king of spades, king of spades, you know, black, white and rainbow. And no need to XYZ and fight my own battles, you know. After Donald Trump, you can stand in line, but Donald Trump first. More than 7 years, I said Donald Trump first. Although, if you're the top, if you offer $11 million minimum as a fight, yeah, I'm willing to fight the who's champion now in boxing. Who's champion? I might still qualify for heavyweight, because I was 90 kilos the other day, so that's close to 205 pounds. I lost more than 80 pounds, between 80 pounds and 93 pounds since I started my fitness journey back in 2017, you know, 2017. So I gotta give it another shout out, truckers, LOV, to the truckers, black, white and rainbow, you know, transporting all the goods across the North American Collectif. Big hugs. If you ever come to Hakata, Montreal, and you see me on the mountain, you say, yeah, I checked one of your videos you give to the truckers and those who made less than 44,000 in 2024 Canadian, and I myself survived on less than 11,000. And you wash feet, I wash feet. I massage, I kiss, and for 11 million to box anybody and give half 50% to my anonymous friends. So that is my minimum charge for boxing. But first, Donald Trump for free, as we're going to build on the Canadian-US border the North American Imperial People's Coliseum for sporters in perpetuities, where we're going to have sports and fitness 24/7, sports, NFL, NHL, NBA, the MLB, universities and gymnastics, and we're going to have all sorts of sports, fitness activities on the Canadian-US border. We're going to build that mega structure, the biggest sports facility, sports arena I ever built, to be 11 times bigger than the hardball ball, aka blackout ball, where my 49ers lost to the Ravens. Yeah, sure. Where are you going? This one, the arrow there? This one, eh? Yeah, this one goes there and this one goes north. Bye. Be careful. You're welcome. Fellow auntie there asked me to press the button, and I helped out a bit. I'm always willing to help, and we gotta love our senior citizens, you know. And I encourage all for fitness and activities, and that's what it is. You know, I just am a bit weird, awkward due to Asperger's symptoms, and now when I do a little bit of art, being an artist and a geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist, and that's what we're gonna get doing with that, and that's how we're gonna get that rock and roll, and that's what we have, you know, here on the North American Collective, and that's what we're gonna get doing for the love, and the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the truckers, the firefighters, the plumbers, the electricians, the welders, all those involved in the production, distribution of food, and it's 24/7, eh? Let's build the North American Imperial People's Coliseum on the Canadian-US border. On the Canadian-US border, to be 11 times bigger than the Caesar Superdome, whose name changed. That's like my name changed. Nothing that I will to go back to. And before that, it was used to be known as the Mercedes-Benz, and now it's known as the Caesar Superdome, where one of my top five Super Bowls is the hardball ball, aka blackout ball, aka bro ball, where my 49ers lost. Again, I repeat it, and because I will us to build it, Canada United States joint Just like that golden hog dome gotta be build Canada, United States joint, and me and Donald Trump are gonna inaugurate it. I got those red gloves gifted from my anonymous friend, auctioning them for $1 million, auctioning my socks, auctioning my steel toe boots, the old ones for $1 billion, the new ones for $1 million, and the underwear, what I'm wearing, and the old shoes, new shoes, and underwear and coats, and all the that I'm wearing now, the black hoodie and the red. It's red. It's kind of like a coat, but it's not really a coat. This $1 million each. $1 million each. Gonna give 50% half to my anonymous friend, pay my $10,000 debt, and buy those bricks for the North American Imperial People's Coliseum for the Forgotten Goddess GODDSS. Yet I did say goddess temple for the Forgotten Goddess temple, the GODDSS, the Goddess temple, and the Rainbow People's Palace for my fellow neurodivergents and fellow LGBTQ community, and the Scarlet Crimson and Scarlet are shades of red, the pyramid, House of the Dragon, and gonna buy my anonymous friend a house. So yeah, financially stressed, but got those trains of kisses, rock and roll. And now we're gonna delve a little bit into geopolitics before I discuss the DRT, the debt refusion theory. So geopolitics today, the major events of today. So the major geopolitical events of today are of course, as a North American geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist, again, keep in mind that my protocols initiatives are for what I call the North American Collective. As a Quebec Canadian North American, mainly for the North American Collective, and they manifest, they manifest, God is blessed, as the dancing goddess in the Dragon Kingdom, as my trinity of theories, of course, the CIT, Citizen Integration Theory, the DRT, Debt Refusion Theory, and the DFT, Democratic Fusion Theory, for the collective North American civilizational complex of North America. And that's how we're gonna get doing with that. And so we're gonna get doing on the love, and that's how we're gonna get on that, doing the actions and the love, and that's how we're gonna get doing on that. And so we're gonna get doing on the love side of things, and we gotta get it for the love, the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, and that's how we're gonna get doing on the XYZ. And that's North American perspective, you know. It's just for the North American collective. As much as I can know, and I do know the ideologies, the philosophies, the histories of different regions, civilization, nation states. I am a North American fundamentally. There's the mountain. It can be seen afar off. The mountain can be seen from miles and hundreds of miles, hundreds of kilometers away, even from outside of Montreal, you know, afar off. You can see the downtown core area. So as much as I am, you know, a philosopher, a geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist, and I know the ideologies, the history, especially Cold War period. So I specialize mostly in the Cold War and day-to-day events. Today past, mostly 20th century. There's the Montreal downtown core area. The 20th century mostly. Although I can go back, you know, to colonial era and to the past, ancient Egypt, ancient Sumer, ancient Babylon. But there's the mountain, and there where we were in the darkness the other day. That's the antenna where you could flash. It was in the darkness the night, and it was flashing red, and that is where it was, you know, red, and the antenna. That's Mount Royal, one of the three peaks, and sometimes we're over there, but keep in mind that that's miles and miles and kilometers away, and that is the downtown core area of Montreal. Downtown core area. Montreal, Hawk Island, Island of the Hawk, H-A-W-K, Hawk. So as much as I can say, and I know the ideologies, the philosophies, my initialist protocols are for what I call the North American Collective. See at the mountain for the summit, the North American Collective, the Kingdom Summit, for the establishment of the Dancing Goddess Dragon Kingdom's PPP, Public-Private Partnership. And that's where we're gonna do that rock and roll tango with that, and you know, please don't pollute. We need to do massive cleaning, and that's why we need that DGA. So the geopolitical events of today. A brief resume, 5-minute resume of Geopolitiks. So in the past 48 hours, Canada, the UK, and France put some pressure on Israel, of course, to allow more humanitarian aid. It's, of course, something, it's a new development and even unprecedented in many ways, because Canada, UK, and France have stated that they're going to put some measures on Israel, diplomatic, economic, whatever pressures, if they do not comply, if there's no compliance. Because, of course, I guess many leaders in Canada, France, and the United Kingdom, and have decided that the continuing escalation of war and increasing the military operations and further escalations of the Gaza Strip's invasion by the IDF in response to the October 7th attacks has been, of course, under scrutiny, and this new development which has to be taken into consideration. Now again, as much as I can say, I always go back to my analysis from 2019. So you have to go back to understand my philosophies, my ideas. They go back to before I had COVID. In 2019, in October, November, when I had concluded that we are headed towards an international conflagration. And as much as I know the ideologies, my protocols, initiatives are for the North American Collective, right? Until we have the Dancing Goddess Army and the Dragon Army as a PPP for the 63, my position is, whether pro, con, or in the middle or neutral, that's a variable which for the time being is of inconsequential until we meet on the mountain for the summit and the reconciliation of the North American Collective, and we fuse the North through North Strong and Free with the South for the 63, the 50, the 10 provinces, 50 states, and 3 territories. That's 13 plus 50, not 51, not 51, not 51. I guess we can put one unit with 13 new, the fusion thereof, via North American centrism, and with my ideas, protocols, and public-private partnership mainly, and my holy trinity of theories which need to be implemented. The CIT, Citizen Integration Theory, the DRT, Debt Refusion Theory, and the DFT, the Democratic Fusion Theory, for the collective North American civilizational complex, and that's what we need to do. So that's what we need to do, and that's why we gotta get rock and rolling with that, you know. So it's something which we gotta be and we gotta must, and that looks so good. I wonder how much it is, and truckers, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, firefighters, and plumbers, and grocery store clerks. We gotta get it on the go, and you see we got that red, and we got that butchers, those bakers, those nurses that I gotta always salute, always meditate about, and defense coast to coast, ocean to ocean. Gotta get it for the new public-private partnership institution. So that is a new development in Geopolitiks, a quite interesting development due to the fact that, of course, the situation has changed, and due to the escalation, the Canada, United Kingdom, and France had taken a more stern position vis-a-vis even of course threatening to impose some sort of sanctions or take some measures against the state of Israel. The other development is a major one, is China putting a big official statement via their official government channels that the Golden Dome should be abandoned by the United States because it threatens the global stability order, which you quite wonder, because about 2 weeks ago China tested a mega bomb which looked nuclear, but it's not actually nuclear. It's a new bomb which is the power of the nuclear weaponry, but it's not nuclear fission. It's not nuclear fission or hydrogen or fission or fusion. So it's a new bomb which we're exploring exactly what it is. But about 2 weeks ago, they exploded a mass bomb test, basically as a show of strength. And of course, Russia and China, they met again last week. Xi Jinping was in Russia, and they solidified furthermore their military economic alliance. Now, from a geopolitical perspective, us as Quebecers, Canadians, the number one priority fundamentally for us is to have the best, most cordial economic, financial, commercial relations with the United States, and vice versa. This applies reciprocal, is vice versa for the United States. This is a constant for us geopolitically. There's no maybe or no. It's a constant yes. It's not, regardless of the abstract notion of Canada, the King and the Commonwealth. Those are abstract geopolitical notions. They're not based, in the realities on the ground, or the King is absent. After 50 years, the King of England, the Queen, is going to come visit Canada. It's been decades and decades, I think more than 44 years. And now I guess because of what's happening, the King decides. The King is an absentee landlord. It's time for the Republic. The King is an absentee landlord. The King is an absentee landlord. It's been me, you, and us for years and years and years, suffering, struggling, and some of us well off, and second chances, third chances, and me with my geopolitics, Aspie, androgynous Aspie-esque sufferings and loss. Because Aspies, the problem is many Aspies, there's a very high unemployment rate, high, way too high among Aspies. But we're again a tiny community, 0.44%. So there's not a lot of Aspies like myself. But unfortunately, among the tiny, small fraction, minority of a community of Aspies whose brains have these mutations, there's a high unemployment rate, very high unemployment rate, very high unemployment rate, a very high unemployment rate. The unemployment rate is way too high, The unemployment rate is way too high, for aspirants. Way too high. And sometimes it's because of this misunderstanding, confusion that it's a mental illness, which again, it's not a mental illness. Our brains are different, and brains are mutated. They have these mutations which make us seem weird and eccentric and, perhaps confused with being criminals or violence or mentally ill, which we're not. We're not. Our brains are mutated, and yes, we have a high unemployment rate in our tiny small fraction of a community, and we also have a small fraction of a community, and we also are. There's a high depression and suicidal rates, suicidal tendencies, way higher in both unemployment and suicidal ideation tendencies among Asperger's, Aspies, due to what we suffer or live and endure as neurodivergence. But myself was suicidal, was depressed, suicidal, and crossing Canada made me realize how many things I have to live for, and to do, and to love, and to experience, and to visit the 50 states once again in this life as I live in the next. Because I want to go to the Grand Canyon again in this life, and I want to go to Banff again, and I want to see the dams, hydroelectric dams there, hydroelectric dams, and all my brothers and sisters of the North American Collective, aunties, pledge your allegiance. Our family, that's the rock and roll song, pledge your allegiance. That's the song. Pledge your allegiance. That's the song, and that's all I gotta get doing with that. And back to geopolitics. Fundamentally, just like the pie symbol, the pie. Not the pie that you eat and bake. Bake some 50 pies for us to join, not the bullying tariff tactics. Invite us properly. Say, I made a mistake. I'm sorry. I can apologize. I made mistakes. I gotta go doing with that, and that's how we gotta get doing, for the love, and that's how we gotta get being, and that's how I gotta get doing now, and that's how we gotta get on that so it's something which we gotta do. Something which we gotta do, So that's something which we gotta do here, for the North American Collective, and for all the things which we have in common here, for the collective, for me, for you, for us, for the individual, And again, geopolitically, that's an interesting new development. The fact that China requests that the United States discontinues or stops the Golden Dome project. Golden Dome. 100% for the Golden Dome. As much as I do not fully support the peace through strength philosophy, position, and ideologies, I understand it. I got a 50-50 it. Because peace through strength is not enough. With strength, we gotta have some MTF motherfucking loving with that, you know? Some motherfucking loving with that. Some motherfucking loving. Hopefully somebody making love across the free world, right? Otherwise let the nukes pop off, you know? What's the point? Just money, money, money. It's not all about the money. Finance and business is good, but we need to be, you know, to balance a bit. I'm not totally selfless. Not totally selfless. I don't pretend to be. I like my sweets, my sugars, my wafers. Last night I had like half of a Nutella jar. I overindulged. I was supposed to have it over the weekend, but somehow I magically didn't touch it because I thought I was gonna devour it for the Sabbath. And yesterday I did. I think I had like not full spoons, but like 44 spoons. I said I'm gonna have 11. Then I said 11. That's 22. I went to 33. Then I said okay, 11 more. So I have 44 spoons, like small spoons. But like 44 spoons. This is another Aspie thing, you know. That's Asperger's for you. But I had like half of it, so I know these weird peculiar details. They're peculiar of how Aspie brains and the way to communicate. Sometimes things can be seemingly awkward. Regardless, the main message is HUG, hug like you never hugged before. Be careful on those cranes. You know, I got a crane fetish, and you know, give some charity. Wall Street billionaires. Let's rebuild the North American ghettos, the North American urban inner cities, and you know, let's be a little bit on the less selfish side. You know, less selfish side. You know? And that's what we're gonna get doing with that. And that's what we're gonna get doing for the love side of things. And we're gonna get doing for that XYZ. And we're gonna get doing for the love, you know. And somebody love or lust, you know, it's consent and channel aggression and sexuality needs to be channeled. Because repressing it will make us sick and disease, you know. Repressing it, you know, just like we gotta work on things like racism, you know. I work by offering something for my brothers and sisters who are different, might have a neurodivergence, or blacks, black men, black women, you know, open my arms and big hugs, rather than just, you know, verbal consolation. I put some hugs, you know, some hugs and tickles if you want, or feet washing, whatever. Some kisses I got for all here on the island, Montreal, Huck Island, and that's what I got the most, I guess. Bury me with Papa Crowley up in New Jersey, a third of me in Hampton, New Jersey, a third of me City of the Pyramids, and a third of me up in Mount Royal. I guess split it up and let's work and do business. The kingdom is open to all willingly loving, pledge your allegiance, and the geopolitical events, which are of course ongoing, is of course the stalemate again between Russia and Ukraine. And of course my predictions in 2019 were several and somewhat academic and intellectual, deep intellectual academic analysis, as I do on the daily basis. But to sum it up, is due to the fact that many nation states and regions and civilizational complexes were not able to fully resolve their conflict from the 20th century, that of course these conflicts are going to re-emerge, restart, reignite due to those unresolved conflicts from the 20th century. And that's what's happening now. That's what's happening now. Those conflicts have been reignited and restarted. Oh, look at that beautiful little thing. Oh, this belongs, I think, private. It's private. It's not public. Quite cutie. I wonder where it was built, how it was built, and how it was manufactured, and how it is operated. You know, those more technical details of it, but it's kind of cute, eh? Cute little machine. We got brains and muscle to operate all this. Civilization is a privilege, eh? Civilization is a big privilege, the privilege of civilization. And, you know, I gotta salute the bus drivers, rock and roll, you know, so. Rock and roll for the bus drivers of the North American Collectif, LOVE. We gotta get that Dragon Army, total security, total service, total defense, and I wonder why I got that 30 and 44 as I can see on the camera, you know. And again to geopolitics, those major points, and of course the trade war, which is still not resolved between Canada and the United States. And again, I repeat because it's super important as I twist my hips left and right, do a bit of that twist the hips left to right, and that of course our number one priority as Quebecers, Canadians, and there's no way around this, is to have the best, most cordial relations with my brothers and sisters in the United States. So that is a constant thing. This is just like the pi symbol. You know the mathematical symbol for the circumference? Circumference divided by the diameter is always 3.14, 15, 8, 9, and then ad infinitum. So basically you round it up by 3.14, 16. The pi number. So this is a constant. So geopolitically it's always a constant, yes. And vice versa for the United States, is to have the best, most cordial relations with my brothers and sisters in the United States. That is the fundamental essence of our geopolitical primary, meaning external, you know, external geopolitics, external geopolitics. The external geopolitics, meaning that in foreign affairs, it is our best interest. It is our best interest to have. It is our best interest to have the geopolitical events, of course, to have. And basically, as a foreign policy, our main interest, primary political foreign affairs, not domestic. When it comes to the exterior foreign affairs and outside of the domestic realm of the political sphere, our main primary number one interest, primordial interest, is to have the best, most cordial, best economic, financial, commercial, military, security, and defense relations with the United States. There's just no way around that. That is just primary how it is. There's no way around that. Just geopolitically, because the United States are our best partner and we have to continue to be so. The rest of the outside world is the secondary motive, you know? Because here we got two oceans, coast to coast, ocean to ocean. So our leaders must understand that fully. Regardless of other external things, is to have the best relations with the United States. Fundamentally, in essence. And here, of course, we have the French language, which myself as a Quebecer, I always got to put it up for the French language. And you got to make an effort, you know. I'm willing to give Trump some free classes. French, you know. Want to learn some French, come here, get some French done and take those tariffs off. And that's how we're going to build more hydroelectric dams, you know. Imagine when you come here in Quebec, all the electricity does not pollute. All the electricity around me, around us here, is not polluting. All of it. It doesn't pollute at all. All the traffic lights. That's quite something we have to be proud of here, you know. Not myself, because I haven't built it, but the builders who build the hydroelectric dams, you know. Think about that. All of the electricity, and our electricity goes to 5 or 6 states, you know. Oh, careful. Crossing on the red, man. Crossing on the red, and I was gonna scream at my brother, cousin there, watch your laces, tie your laces up, and that's how we gotta get doing, man. We gotta look up for each other, you know. Nobody's getting hit by a car on my watch, and I gotta be prudent, you know. Black, white, or rainbow, all who come to join us here in the North American Collective, you know. And it's important to channel the aggression. I know things are tough, huh? Look at the price of gas. The average price of gas was 93 cents. So as an ASPE who knows a little bit of math, I calculate that a lot of people are stressed financially because of the cost of gas has increased so much. 93 cents to now that's 70 cents. Wow, that's about more than 44%. That's more than 44%. So more than 44% since 5 years ago, in February 2020. So of course salaries have only increased 4.4%. So take that into consideration, the fact that the salaries have only increased by 4.4%, while the cost of living and things of gas, and a lot of people have to travel. Myself, I'm on these steel toe boots, but you know, I gotta be mindful of this. That's why I'm saying my DRT theory, the debt refusion theory, is the only solution, brothers and sisters, for much of the public and the private. for much of the public and the private. For much of the public and the private. For much of the public and the private affairs. It's the public and the private affair. My dream is a PPP based, public-private partnership. So back to geopolitics, it's quite a development that China has requested the ceasage of the project known as Golden Dome. We need to put a hawk in it, and Canada needs to be all in on that. As much as I understand peace through strength, especially being an independent geopolitical theoretical clandestine theorist, who has predicted the current situation, I cannot fully support it because there has to be a balance with peace through strength. We got to add some understanding, some love and understanding to strength. We can't just base strength and force. Just like our armed forces and our security forces cannot base and deal with our citizens just through force and strength. It has to have some understanding and love principles. Some love and understanding principles, Some love and understanding principles, Some love and understanding principles, That's what it is. My brothers and sisters also, the 13.4% of the North American population, my neighbors included, are blacks. Black families. Actually, I think 3 black families just on my street, So I gotta do the same for them. Sometimes these things are subconscious as well. We're not fully aware that we have these, and we might not admit them, to work on them. To work on them. I wouldn't like sending nobody to jail, taking away their freedom, black, white, or rainbow. I would be a judge. I would be shedding tears and say, I gotta take your liberty, I gotta take your freedom. Freedom is new under the sun. But freedom gotta be ensured, and then we got the individual and the collective, The individual and the collective. Such as when I'm in the public now, I got added responsibilities, duties, and obligations, which I don't have under the normal circumstances. And myself, with my nature as an individual who's neurodivergent compared to the neurotypicals, which are the vast majority of the population, 99.56%, 99.56%, 99.56%. 99.56% compared to me, 0.44%. That is a small, tiny fraction of a population. Small, tiny fraction of the population. Small, tiny fraction of the population. That is what it is. That is what it is with that, and that's how we gotta get rock and rolling, and that's all we gotta get doing. Sometimes we have inner fears. Maybe Aspies provoke certain fears, certain misunderstandings, certain concerns, among others, among others. Certain things which can be on the concerning side of things, That's all we gotta get doing with that. Certain things, of course, which we gotta be meditating upon, That's what we gotta do, because fears and hidden things exist in us, more or less. My intensity concentration when I work out train, because I have these mutations of the brain, so I focus, super concentrated, super intense, super focused, super concentrated, super focused, super intense, super concentrated. That's what it is with that, and that's what we gotta get doing with that. So that's why we gotta get rock and rolling, and that's what we gotta get doing on that, That's what we gotta get doing with that, and so we gotta get on that now, For the bus drivers, train conductors, all those involved in the production, distribution of food, and all those now, Gotta be meditating here. That's how we're gonna get loving, and all who come to join us here in the North American Collective, we gotta be meditating upon, just like, what are those? Are those 3Gs? 4Gs, 3Gs? I don't think they're 5G though. Towers, right? They're towers. I would love to know more about that. My thing is geopolitics, but those are, of course, open to espionage and sabotage. So they're part of the geopolitical dimension, whether we like it or not. They're part of the geopolitical dimension, and of course, I can I can just take a routed here. I'm gonna take a routed because I kind of like how it is done here, and kind of like the buses, the way this is kind of done. It needs a lot of redone, you know. It used to be redone, a lot of it, because a lot of it is decades and decades, for years and years and years, but it needs to be done a lot, I guess. What I meant to say is to be refurbished, you know, and redone, and redone with it, and a lot of it, you know, so I'm just gonna, is it gonna be the sun or just black, gray, dark clouds? So anyways, there's a lot of things which we gotta do here, you know. What I meant to say, we gotta paint a lot. So that's how we're gonna get doing, and we're gonna need to be passing through the streets. How are we gonna go? Oh, we can go by that side, but actually we're gonna go straight. We're not gonna pass through it. We're gonna go around about it like that. I'm not gonna go inside. I just wanted to pass through and just take a look at here. And years and years ago, I used to come often by bus, by metro, but you know, since the prices have increased, I had to cut down on the expenses, and when I had jobs, I used to buy the monthly or the weekly pass, but my jobs and unemployment is due to Asperger's, you know, sometimes they were very short-lived, and that's the problem with Aspies. In our community, is a high unemployment rate, very high, way too high, and unfortunately, suicidal tendencies and depression, and I lived it, for years, like, I was depressed, suicidal, and I just survived it. Wow, that was really, when I crossed Canada coast to coast, that turned my whole life. And see how my Aspie brain now works. I have a tendency to focus on the numbers here, and what do they mean, 30 and 44, I guess something which we have to appellate, and we gotta get on that drill, and you have to operate like that, and you have to wonder, because they have a classification, or whatever the case may be, in terms of the classifications that they do have. What is that? Oh, for the buses, something technical, which I don't see so many things to discover on a daily basis. And you know, Aspie brains have these mutations, and we focus on certain details that other people would be like, what the fuck? Like, for example, but it serves in geopolitics, but mostly my concentration is detailed on geopolitics. The most details is geopolitics, rock and roll, and sports and fitness, because, you know, I'm on my fitness journey, began in 2017 after I come out of the depression, and I lost between 80 and 93 pounds, and I always encourage, and I also created my own workout training program system. My own program training system, and I've written some children's books. There's children's here in both French and English, but I wasn't able to afford to pay the $500. It was a requirement to pay $500 in order to get a literary agent, which I wasn't able, you know, to get the literary agent, and that's because I wasn't able to pay to get further publication of my children's books, and that's what it is now, and that's how we gotta get doing with that, and that's how we gotta get that rock and roll, you know, and we gotta get on that doing and being and meditating on the things which we have and things which we have as an individual, obstacles, and I've faced obstacles, faced blockages, faced depression, faced suicide. So you live with my scars. I got plenty of scars on the body, literally on my little clit, dick clit, you know. I scratch sometimes too. I applied some cream. I think I'm gonna have to do another consultation, but again, due to finances, I wasn't able to consult dermatologist, and that's what it is with that. And wasn't able to consult, the dermatologist because it cost $300 average. So that was another impediment for me, and that was something which I have not done. And I have not consulted because of the financial struggles. I do have some experience in urban farming. Go urban farming, go urban farming, go. Jardin communautaire, it's common farming, and on cultive, on partage. That means that we cultivate, we share, and about 3 times before and during COVID, I have some experience in urban farming, and it was fun, and I harvested and I ate what I planted with my own labor and sweat on my labor. I sweat on my brows, I guess, and it was quite fun, so I basically have experience farming, but small lots, urban farming. So that was a good experience, and I'm always open for new experiences, especially economic, financial, commercial, because I'm financially stressed. That's my only stress right now, to be honest. Besides that, I'm pretty good. I was moody a bit this morning, and I guess sometimes in the dreams, because I got retrograde amnesia, got memory loss. I remember mostly well the past 7 years, and 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 years, and besides that, gotta get that. Besides the going before 11 years, it's a blackout. It's retrograde amnesia symptoms, and I remember mostly the past 7, 8, 9. Then there's a kind of foggy, then it gets kind of blackout, and after that is of course something which kind of gets blurred. Sometimes it's lost due to trauma. I have to retrieve my medical records from the Jewish general. When I went to the hospital, I was put on some meds, and my right arm was cracked back because it was dislocated. I was attacked by surprise and hit my head in Montreal Metro several times in the past, and I have plenty of scars on the body, and I lived in a very moldy place, and that really got it going with that, and that's how we gotta get going on that, and that's how we gotta get doing on the love. And here we're gonna check if we got some of that hydration, and so we gotta get doing, So just let me check if it works. I hope so. Oh yeah, this is all. We're gonna hydrate and discuss that DRT. Gonna let it flow a bit. So yeah, live with my scars, my memory loss. I remember mostly well my life slightly before going on that trip in 2017, which changed my whole life. And then if I go back 7, 8 years, I have a good memory. Then 9 years, it kind of goes kind of blurry. Then 10 years, it kind of gets shady, dark. And 11 years, it's kind of before 11 years, it's like a blackout. I remember moving from a moldy place where I live now, better where I live now, and started working out, was depressed, suicidal, cross Canada, coast to coast. That event changed my life. Now, I don't know if I did drugs before that, because sometimes maybe I was a junkie. Maybe I was a junkie before 11 years ago, but I don't do drugs. I have cannabis, legal weed. I haven't smoked cannabis in years and years and years. Well, months actually, but it lasted me for like 5 years. I bought after it was legalized. It lasted me so many years. I still have from like more than 4 years ago at home. My fellow citizen there doing some work, and gotta watch out for the children, not to get hurt there, and prudent, so I'm just gonna follow in the back and hope for some stuff. So yeah, now I'm gonna discuss the DRT, debt refusion theory. Super important that I discuss the DRT, debt refusion theory now, because I'm on the subject. So again, it comes out of the curse of having Asperger's. In many ways, there's a blessing on the table parallel to my trillions of kisses, is the DRT, the debt refusion theory, which I'm now going to discuss. What is the DRT? The DRT stands for D, debt, R, refusion, T, theory. It is my theory for the North American collective financial, public-private partnership, financial rehabilitation. Financial rehabilitation of the North American collective, both the public and the private, for the North American financial collective, for the North American Collective Financial Act, and that's all we gotta get doing with that, and that's all we gotta get doing on the go. So why do I make the statement that is the only solution, but not the only necessarily my DRT theory that is, but something very similar to my DRT theory, which gotta be my DRT theory, debt refusion theory for the North American Collective. Why do I make that statement? Because last year we paid, and we got to implement it. It starts with me today, because today the public financial collapse and stock market crash might happen. When I get back home, I might see breaking news: public financial collapse of Canada. It's an emergency scenario, more not in geopolitical emergency only, but a financial emergency as well. That's what I make that statement for. So basically, last year we paid more than double than we paid in 2020. Yes, due to the coronavirus, the interest payments, so just the interest on the public debt of Canada has more than doubled from 20.3 billion in 2021 to 46.5 in 2024 fiscal year. So in 3 years. And yes, due to the coronavirus, due to the COVID era, due to the COVID programs which we had to implement for the population to be salvaged, and for the population, of course, to continue the operations, of course, to maintain the course of life, the employment, and whatever the employment had to be done, and we had to do the programs and had to finance the population during the coronavirus crisis, health and financial by de facto crisis due to the health and the lockdowns and all the COVID coronavirus situation. So basically that's what we had to do, as not just Canada, but a lot of different countries. So because Canada and the United States, we are in a very similar, both public and private financial situation. Very similar public and private financial situation, because we're in a very similar public and private financial situation. We got to implement the DRT, my DRT, debt refusion theory, both Canada and United States joint. Both Canada, United States joint. We got to implement the DRT jointly, both in Canada and the United States. So due to that fact, I'm making that statement, and it's best if we close these. That's why I'm making that statement, because the interest only has more than doubled, right? More than doubled. Keep that in mind. Just the interest has more than doubled. Has more than double. Has more than doubled. Beautiful spot here. You can come relax. You have so many green spaces in Metropolis Island. So due to the fact that the interest only, so that is the motive that I'm making that statement. The interest has more than doubled. So basically our present system cannot be sustained. You cannot sustain it, just like, because our economy did not double. So I'm asking my Uncle Connie, because he worked in banking finance, what are we going to cut in the public finances? What are we going to cut? What are we going to cut the spending? Because our economy didn't double, it only increased by 1 or 2%. We have to reduce and cut certain spendings, right, in the public. What are we going to cut, Mr. Carney? Uncle Carney? We're going to cut the RCMP, police, sanitation, those pick up the garbage, national defense, sanitation, healthcare. We have to cut the spending, because the same mathematical financial principle applies for an individual. An individual whose debt levels, interest that is, the interest, just interest payments, not the principal on the debt. Like, I don't have credit cards, I have a $10,000 debt. credit line, but I pay interest, 10.44%. But some people pay 11, 13, 20, 25, 26.44, 25.44, 25.40, right? Credit cards, now some loans are more than 25.40, 25.44, even 26%. Some cards, right? Some loans annually, not daily or weekly. That would be, you gotta go underworld style, you know, get your finger chopped off, you know. But I know I have an injury in the hand, but whatever the case may be, and that's what we gotta get doing with that, and that's what we gotta get doing with the go, and that's how we gotta get doing for that, and that's how we gotta get on that go, you know. So it's something which we gotta be doing, and something which we gotta be complimentary about, and something which we gotta be on the doers and the bakers and the nurses, and we gotta do it for us, for the collective, for the individual and the collective. So basically the amount of interest has more than doubled in just 3 years, and years through the COVID. But of course it's not sustainable, because just like an individual whose salary, let's say it increases by 5, 10, 15%, but the average salary increase in 5 years from February 2020 to 2025, it was 4.4%. So basically what it is with that, of course, is that it has if the interest doubles, the individual citizen consumer has to cut or reduce the spending. You're gonna have to, you, she, they, whatever, if it's my case or me or you or whatever, if you smoke, I don't smoke cigarettes, you're gonna have to stop smoking maybe, or reduce the smoking by half. Stop going out to the movies, to the theater, stop spending on Netflix. I gotta finish watching The Umbrella Academy today, tomorrow, and for the weekend, I guess. Whole weekend, just Umbrella Academy, I guess. Season 3 and 4. I watched number 1 and 2, which is whatever. So back to the DRT, debt refusion T, we have to implement it. The DRT, because we're on the verge of a public financial collapse. And it makes me think of what the Viz have said, you know, what the Viz have said on Vion, World is One News, just about a year ago, of course, that the RCMP reported, when Prime Minister Justin was still in, my cousin Justin Trudeau, before he left, of course, that Canadians are planning to arrest, or the title of the news report was Broke and Angry Canadians, Angry and Broke Canadians. Angry and broke. I'm not angry. I done with my rage, done with my anger, was depressed, suicidal. I'm just financially stressed, but I take it every day, you know. Gratitude and grateful, thankful, rent's paid, electricity bills paid, and that's what I gotta be doing with that. And that's what it makes me think, you know, for that there's possible riots and unrest, and that's what I gotta be doing. And I wonder why there's number 44 on that bus, and that's what we gotta get doing with the rock and roll. So we gotta implement my DRT theory for the North American Collective, and no, we gotta get a little bit of implementation. I gotta salute hydroelectric workers, Hydro-Quebec workers of the past, who built all of these gigantic, enormous, across Canada, United States, Quebec, Canada, United States, for us to have electricity, eh? All the labor of the 20th century, sometimes we take for granted, and civilization is a privilege. So reflecting back on that report from World is One News, because I watch not only CBC, CTV, and of course CNBC, but I also on CNN and Fox and left, right, and center, but also international. And Vion, World is One News, I watch it every day a little bit to get a little bit of different perspective from outside the North American Collective to make my geopolitical analysis, because I'm an independent geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist, and that's my special interest. And again, I see a lot of 44s today. 44s makes me think of the 44 tunnels which we need to build, construct in case of a thermonuclear war ASAP, as we need to implement my DRT theory, debt refusion theory. So back to the Vion report of a few months ago by the RCMP, secret report that angry and broke Canadians are plotting unrest. 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 That's a secret police report. RCMP is the national federal type of police force now. And I served in the Mounties in a past life. Sometimes I was born a man and woman, ancient priestess, as I am one now. We gotta get for that justice, and for my brothers and sisters who lost their liberty, we gotta get that North American Criminal Rehabilitation Act. The North American Criminal Rehabilitation Act, we gotta get the North American Criminal Rehabilitation Act. We gotta get the North American Criminal Rehabilitation Act and give some amnesty, and let's start building those 44 tunnels inspired by the Cheyenne Mountain Complex in case of a thermonuclear war, which we're gonna stack them like the underground Montreal village, because we have an underground Montreal village in Montreal in case of a thermonuclear war. So salutations to the workers who build all these across Canada, United States, across the 10 provinces, 50 states, and 3 territories for us to have electricity. And Hydro-Quebec is clean, zero pollution, zero emission, and that's what I got the phone to do this work, which I'm doing now as a YouTuber for Lost, for Artist, Athlete, and independent geopolitical, theoretical, honest, and theorist, and mystic, who paradoxically proposes and has the solution on the table. The DRT, all my suffering, stress, and trauma, and scars, and lost many employments, many jobs, I present on the table the DRT, the debt refusion theory, the DRT, the debt refusion theory, the DRT, the debt refusion theory for the creation of the universal exchange unit. That's what we gotta be doing on that, and that's what we gotta be on the consequential things, of which we gotta be taking a little bit of that love. And it took some brains and muscle to build all this, and it's gonna take some brains and muscle to continue to build it, and that's what we're gonna get doing with that, and that's what we're gonna get doing on the love side of things, and that's what we're gonna get on that appellation, and we're gonna get it for the XYZ, and we're gonna get it for the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the truckers, the firefighters, plumbers, and the doctors, and the electricians, and all involved in the production and the distribution of food, It's the North American Collective, and, you gotta get that rock and roll. So the news report from Vion World is One said that there's unrest coming, or riots, unrest, due to that financial stress of many Canadians. And my brothers and sisters in the USA, record homelessness, record-breaking credit card debt, 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 record-breaking credit card debt. That's what we gotta get doing with that. Record-breaking credit card debt, which we have. Myself, I got $10,000 in debt. Record-breaking credit card debts. Canada, United States, both last year, record-breaking credit card debt for Canada, United States. So that's what the Vion World is One, 1972. World is One News reported a secret report by the RCMP, the National Federal Police, which was handed to the Prime Minister then, Justin Trudeau, angry and broke Canadians, plotting and unrest. So it might be unrest and unrest. What a king do? King Charles, LOV, stay over there, and absentee landlords, and be safe, be well over the ocean. And it's time for the Republic. The king is absent. It's time for the DRT. There's no other solution but the DRT, the debt refusion theory for the creation of the UE. The DRT, debt refusion theory for the creation of the universal exchange. The DRT. Please don't pollute. The debt refusion theory is the DRT, debt refusion theory for the creation of the universal exchange. I'm going to explain it now as simply as I can because of the neurological mental divergent condition known as Asperger's. There's a tendency to be overly academic, intellectual, and philosophical in the way I express certain ideas or theories or discuss certain issues, which can be explained more simply and with less verbosities or sophisticated, stupendous verbiage and use of vocabulary. It can be breaking down to more simple things, which sometimes we gotta be simplifying certain things of the dimensions which we involved in on a daily basis. So we have reached record amount of interest which we paid on the public debt last year, We have paid record debt, so that's how we're gonna do the DRT, the debt refusion theory, for the creation of the UA, the universal exchange. So that is the motive that I'm saying, that I'm making that exclamation about it, So basically, we pay $46.5 billion on the public debt. That is, a billion has 9 zeros. A billion is 1,000 million. A billion is 1,000 million. That is a staggering amount of money. Listen to the birds. That is a staggering amount of money. 46.5 billion. Think about that. Compute that number. That's 46,000 million. 46,000 million. That is a staggering amount of money. 46,000. 46,000 million. Hey, I like those birds. I think they're over there. 46.5 billion. 46,000 million. 46.5 billion. 46,000 million. Equate that number, compute that number. That is a staggering amount of numbers. So take all that number and know that 3 years before that, it was 20.3. What do you notice? 20.3 doubled, that's 40.6. It more than doubled due to COVID in this. So it's not sustainable. Just like an individual cannot be sustained if the interest, just the interest double, one has to cut and reduce the spending, the budget. That's the mathematical financial principle. So again, I ask Uncle Connie, what are we going to cut? What are we going to reduce? The RCMP, the prisons, the sanitation, the national defense, the healthcare. Somewhere we're going to have to cut. Just like an individual will have to make if that situation occurs, that the interest more than doubles, while the salary does not. If the salary also doubles or makes more income, then you can pay more interest, right? It's a correlation. Otherwise, it's inverse. The more interest you pay, the more you got to cut the spending, and vice versa. The less interest you pay, the more you can increase in your spending. Because basically the interest that you pay, that one pays, it cuts from somewhere else. The money going to somewhere else. The money going somewhere else. The money going somewhere else. Basically, that's what's going on. That is the application. That is the application. That is what it is. That's just basically what it is, So that's why we need to implement the DRT, debt refusion theory, as soon as possible. Today, the possible public financial collapse on Publik can start today. As we're now on the breaking news, public financial collapse. CDV, CBC, emergency. Because we declared the taxes and the tax returns. I'm waiting for, I think $66 return from the federal and about 80 from the provincial. Because I survived 2024 on less than $11,000. I survived on less than $11,000, So that is something which we gotta, and that is something which we must, and that is something which we gotta be on the consequential part of things, and that's how we gotta be doing the DRT, debt refusion theory. DRT, debt refusion theory for the creation of the UE, the universal exchange unit. The universal exchange, we got to implement it. So here it is explained. So in my DRT is integrated MIT, not the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. And I got to smell these. Got to stop here. Wow. Oh yes. Ooh, I'm so joyous now. Double joy with these. One more time. 4 times. So that's what we gotta do. So in my DRT theory is integrated monetary integration theory. Monetary integration theory is the financial theory implemented in the European Union. In the European Union, the monetary integration theory is the financial theory which the Europeans implemented in the 90s. So they don't have a national central bank in Europe. They have a central bank together. Many nation states have a common central bank. The ECB is a common central bank, right? It's not a bank of nations. Of nations. It's not a bank. It's not a bank. It's not a central. They don't have a national central bank. I was gonna say that they juiced their, but actually they destroyed all their national central banks. They destroyed it. They don't have national central banks in Germany, Italy. They don't have that anymore. They have the ECB, the European Central Bank. So that's monetary integration theory, which the European nations, many, not all, did implement. The ECB, the European Central Bank, right? That's what they did, the European Central Bank. That's what they did. And I wonder if those are 3Gs or 4Gs. I don't think they're 5Gs. 3Gs or 4Gs. I would love to learn more about it. But of course, what range? And it's microwaves, basically. Intelligence, microwaves. Light can travel 7 times around the Earth in 1 second. Light can travel 7 times around the Earth in 1 second. Light can travel 7 times around the Earth in 1 second. Wow, power of light. But power of also takes a little bit of darkness. So matter is holy also. Whatever, I'm not going to go mystic about it. But the DRT has to be implemented. The DRT. So it includes monetary integration theory. MIT. So we're going to have to take all the public and the private debt together, my debt, your debt, our debt, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, and the DRT, which includes monetary integration theory, which again is the theory which was implemented in the European Union. We have to implement it collectively. The DRT. Canada, United States, that is simultaneously, because we're in the same, very similar public and private financial situation. So we're going to take all the public-private debt, Canada, United States, Canada, coast to coast, the public-private debt. We're going to convert it into US dollars. We're going to add it with the United States public and private debt. We're going to put it together jointly with all that money in circulation. We're going to create a new currency and a new common bank, whatever we call it, a new bank. Central Bank of the Kingdom, of the Dragon Kingdom Central Bank, whatever, North American Central Bank of the 63, 50, 10 provinces, 50 states plus 3 territories, that's 63, 10 plus 50 plus 3. And we're going to issue a new currency called the UE, which is going to have the value of the US dollar, the UE, U dot universal, E dot exchange, U dot unit, U dot universal, E dot exchange, U dot unit, U dot universal, E dot exchange, U dot unit, the UE, the UE, the UE. The universal exchange unit is going to have the value of the US dollar. We're going to set an interest rate level of 10%. It's not going to be able to be more than 10%. It could be 3.33, 7.18, 4.18, 1.56, 9.3, 6.1. Below 10%. It could be below 10%, but not more than 10%. So that's going to be the mathematical financial principle. 10% maximum after that on all credit cards, credit loans, on all debt thereafter. It's not going to be able to be more than 11%. 11% is going to be the new maximum level of debt, of interest paid on the debt after that, after the DRT is imposed. For the North American Collective, for the 63. With that money, we're going to rebuild the infrastructure of the North American Collective, the highways, the bridges, the sewers. We're gonna build those 44 tunnels. We're gonna mass finance citizens' fitness activity. This does good for the body. Build the North American Imperial People's Coliseum on the Canadian-US border. 11 times bigger than the Caesar Superdome. Before that, it was used to be known as the Mercedes-Benz Dome, Mercedes-Benz Arena. So we changed the names, just like I'm in the process of changing the name officially, but still have to pay and get that legal, and we're gonna get that doing, and that's how we're gonna get doing with that, and that's how we're gonna get that rock and roll. So basically, that's what it is, and that's how we're gonna get rock and rolling with that. Pledge your allegiance. We're going to mass finance tourism. We're going to establish the 2 complementary covenant and cooperative institutions for the 63. The Dancing Goddess Army, the North American Integrated Dance League for the Environmental Education and Action, and the Dragon Army, the North American Imperial Security and Service and Defense Legions for the 63, North American Imperial Security and Service and Defense Legion, the SSD Legions, SSD Security Service and Defense Legions with the DGA. Those two complementary covenant and cooperative institutions for the regeneration and the rebuilding of the North American inner urban cities, the ghettos. That's what we're gonna have to be doing, and we're gonna have to be implementing that, and we're gonna have to be implementing that. So that's what we're gonna be doing with that, and that's what we're gonna be doing, implementing that, and that's what we're gonna be rock and roll with that. And the North American People's Imperial Coliseum, gonna build the Forgotten Goddess Judy temple and build those 44 tunnels in case of a thermonuclear war. What a beautiful garden. We're gonna do lots of work for the public, mass finance fitness, mass finance tourism for wellness, and of course programs for the rehabilitation of the North American infrastructure, of the criminal population, and rebuild the parks and rebuild the ghettos of North America, okay, the North American urban cities. We're gonna do lots of work there, and we're gonna rebuild the bridges, infrastructure, and we're gonna get rid of the border, do a great census, see who can serve in the two complementary covenant institutions. One has to be living in Canada without leaving for, okay, unless he serves in the US or Canadian Army, whatever the case may be, has to have basically lived for, let's say, the past 5 or 7 years, different levels, 5 or 7 years in 2017, and pledge your allegiance. The DRT is the only solution. There's no other solution really to the current situation where we are. You know, it's something which we got to be mindful about, and we got to be meditating about that, and that's what we got to be doing. And we got to implement that DRT, debt refusion treaty, for the creation of the UE. And here we are by the river, and we're gonna do a little bit of that French, you know, because we here in La Belle Province, we can get a little bit of hydration. And here we are, pledge your allegiance, support the dream, the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom, you know, which is fundamentally a call for a public-private partnership, for a public-private partnership, for a public-private partnership, for a public-private partnership. That's what we got to be doing with that. That's how we got to be, of course, thinking about that, and that's how we got to be mindful about all the things which we have here in the North American Civilizational Collective, and that's how we got to be doing on that, and that's how we got to be doing on the XYZ. We got to get doing on that, and we got to get meditating on that love side of things. And I got a little bit of breeze in my eyes, so I got to be moving on the side, and gotta get XYZ with that, and so we gotta get XYZ with that, and gotta get doing with that, crossing the street prudently. So the DRT, the debt refusion theory, we gotta get doing for that. And I cross the street prudently, and I gotta love, you know, a little bit of that love with that. We gotta get XYZ, and we gotta get getting on the go, you know. So for the North American Collective here, I'm smelling a little bit of that love in it. So we gotta get doing on that side of things, and smell a little bit of those flowers here, you know. Oh yeah, it smells so good, you know. I gotta get that smell, smelling good, and gotta get that fructose, and to get a little bit of analysis, and get a bit of analysis in laboratory, and it smells so good, and smelling fresh cut grass is a pleasure for me, you know. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna implement the DRT, you know, debt refusion theory. Here we are by the river. By the rivers, I'm rocking roll for the butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, truckers, mama, firefighter. Always gotta give it for the truckers. Always gotta sing it for the butchers, for the bakers, for the nurses, for the doctors. For those XYZ, you know we be. For the lovers, for those singing. For the birds, you know the melody. Got a sweet. So you know we gotta beat. So you know we gotta beat and a beat and a beat. For the beats, you know we gotta see. On the left or right you be. So you know you gotta get. On the left or right upset. And the river that surrounds the Montreal, the island of the Hawk. DRT, pledge your allegiance. We're gonna do a great census. Great North American Collective census. A great census. We're gonna do that census, and do a common passport, common currency, and a great census. That's what we need to be doing. A great census. Just gonna take a peek here, and the great census. Everybody who can to see who can serve, you know, who can serve, and with that steep, maybe we can try to get down afterwards and start going by that side. If not, by the other row. Here we are, man. Here we are, made it. Oh wow, look at the big river. Wow, isn't it just gorgeous? See how big it is? Super big. It surrounds the whole island of Montreal, and there we got those waves, and we got those waves there, big waves. So you gotta be careful here when you go around about it. And see, this is the river, Hawk Island River. So we're an island, you can see the mountain, surrounded by the big river with that. And wow, it's a beautiful place here. Get a little bit of that fresh air, you know. So that's what we gotta get doing with that. And here we gotta get doing, man. And just come relax here, learn some French, and see if I can go down. Maybe, yeah, safely. I guess I'm gonna go steep. It's pretty steep, but see, Mother Nature made some steps, so I'm just gonna bounce. Gonna bounce on those, flex my knees, a little bit on the military style, and just go about it one step at a time. And that's how we made it. And now we're in the jungle. Now we're in the wilderness where I love to be. Civilization in the wild, and yeah, save the beavers. That's what that says. I gotta check my eyes again, you know. Sunday, save the beavers, and we gotta get it for that, and that's what we gotta get doing, and save the beavers and save the go, and that's how we gotta get doing with that. And here, please clean after yourself. Don't leave the pollution, and you can come relax here, you know, if you so choose. Relax and do a bit of loving, if you will, if you so choose, and just clean up after yourself. Don't leave the pollution here, you know. Don't leave pollution. Just don't leave stuff. Don't leave trash. Don't leave trash. I'm trying to get the sound of the birds. Some birds are You hear that, birds? Hear those birdies? Anyway, so that's the DRT, and now we're gonna switch to that French a little bit, because we la belle province here. So bienvenue à la petite marche de votre dragon arc-en-ciel de la danse aspi, artiste, athlète, philosophe, analyste et théoricien en géopolitique, avec des nouvelles de révision de la géopolitique. Même aujourd'hui, bien sûr, j'ai quand même fait des analyses ce matin de la géopolitique, puis je pensais que j'allais partir à 7h18. J'ai dit, mais encore une demi-heure d'analyse en géopolitique, de révision, puis regarder les nouvelles, faire des analyses et théories en géopolitique. Je suis parti, je dis, ben, je vais partir à 8h à la place, après à 8h30 à 9h, fait que finalement, je suis parti comment? 9h11 là. Ça m'a pris que c'est ça que je fais. Hein. Je suis un analyste et théoricien en géopolitique, encore une fois, à cause de ma condition de neurodivergence. Je suis connu comme l'Asperger, je suis Aspi, je fais partie de cette petite communauté de neurodivergents, une petite communauté, minorité. Hein. Il n'y en a pas bien, il n'y en a pas beaucoup. C'est 0,44%, fait que c'est moins d'1%, là. Moins d'un pourcentage, moins de la moitié d'un pourcentage qui vivent avec cette condition de neurodivergence. Ça fait que nous, les Aspi, c'est pas une maladie mentale, l'Asperger's. Il y a des mutations dans le cerveau. Fait que ces mutations dans le cerveau font que on voit le monde différemment, puis on est différent dans certaines choses, on a bien de la misère, on est pas mal médiocre comme ça, ou pas bon dans les choses de la société, mais dans d'autres choses, telles que les intérêts spéciaux, on peut être très bon, super bon, vraiment d'un point de vue excellent, aller vers l'excellence. Pour ça, les Asperger's doivent le plus de soutien possible chez les Asperger's. Le plus de soutien possible chez les Aspi dans ses intérêts spéciaux. Il y a beaucoup de confusion avec la maladie mentale. C'est pas une maladie mentale. C'est pas une maladie mentale. C'est pas une maladie mentale. C'est une condition de neurodivergence. C'est une condition de neurodivergence. Fait que cette condition de neurodivergence, ben, ça fait bien sûr que on a certaines choses qui peuvent paraître bizarres, étranges, telles que une caractéristique, parce que c'est pas des symptômes. Hein. Ici, proche de la belle rivière, une chanson de rock'n'roll de votre rock'n'roll que j'adore, regarde! Et bien sûr, vous savez que mon intérêt spécial, parallèlement à la géopolitique et l'entraînement physique, la danse étant mon sport préféré, c'est le rock and roll. J'en compose des chansons du rock and roll. Je suis artiste, philosophe et analyste et théoricien en géopolitique qui a prévu qu'est-ce qui se passe maintenant en 2019. Bon, je reviens à qu'est-ce que c'est l'Asperger's bien vite. Il y a des mutations. Fait que ces mutations-là peuvent paraître que nos caractéristiques. Je dis caractéristiques parce que dire symptômes, des symptômes, c'est pour une maladie mentale. Tu sais, c'est pas une maladie mentale dans le sens traditionnel. C'est pas une maladie qu'on peut donner des médicaments, tu sais, pour avoir du soutien. Puis une des caractéristiques, par exemple, c'est répéter 2-3 fois la même chose, ou l'écolélia, ça veut dire répéter la même phrase, la même chose que quelqu'un dit, ou quelque chose, bien sûr, que comme se rapprocher tellement proche d'une personne, à 2-3 pieds, genre. À 2-3 pieds, genre, fait que c'est des choses moi-même que je dois le dire, puis que je dois le dire moi-même, fait que c'est ces choses-là. C'est ces choses-là, bien sûr, que je dois le faire moi-même. C'est ces choses-là, bien sûr, que je dois le faire moi-même là, aujourd'hui, mais c'est pas des c'est pas des symptômes, encore une fois, c'est des caractéristiques. Les symptômes, c'est pour une maladie. Il n'y a pas de traitement, des médicaments pour l'Asperger's. Il faut avoir de la compréhension et des fois beaucoup de patience parce qu'il n'y a pas beaucoup d'Asperger's. L'Asperger's, c'est une petite minorité, là, c'est 0,44%. Fait que c'est moins de la moitié d'un pourcentage. C'est moins d'1%, là. Et regardez ces belles vagues. Des belles vagues de la rivière, de la métropole de Montréal. Et regarde pour le faire, de la gauche, de la droite, Québécois, québécoise. Aïe, 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 aïe. Pour la gauche, pour la droite, Québécois, québécoise. Dans la rivière, qu'est-ce que ça va faire? Et une chanson pour ne pas bouger vos fesses. Et bien sûr, c'est, encore une fois, j'adore le rock'n'roll, fait que j'en compose des chansons de rock'n'roll au quotidien, sur le coup, créatif, mais je suis artiste. Bon, pour l'Asperger's, pour finir bien vite sur l'autisme, hautement fonctionnel, que je vis avec cette condition, c'est pas une maladie, il n'y a pas de médicaments, il n'y a pas de traitement traditionnel, c'est juste avoir du soutien dans certaines choses, parce qu'à cause qu'on a des intérêts spéciaux, aussi connus comme obsessifs, mais utiliser obsessif, c'est plus négatif, fait que je dois utiliser le mot propre, là, parce que si j'utilise obsessif, c'est plus négatif. Parce que c'est pas vraiment une obsession dans le sens du point de vue des neurotypiques. Donc, les neurotypiques, vous êtes 99,56. Nous, on est les 0,44%. Là, fait que nous, c'est naturel comme pour nous, tu sais. Je suis super intense, super concentré, super dedans. Là. Quand je fais des analyses en géopolitique, des fois, je passe des heures en faisant ça. Et c'est mon royaume, je peux en discuter. On peut en discuter sur la table des sujets, particulièrement du 20e siècle, la guerre froide, puis présent. Puis pour vous dire maintenant qu'aujourd'hui, ce matin, j'en ai fait comme une couple d'heures parce que je pensais que j'allais partir à 7 heures, après ça à 8 heures, après à 9 heures, finalement, je suis parti de chez nous. Parce que je me suis réveillé bien de bonne heure aujourd'hui, mercredi le 21 mai. Puis j'avais fait des analyses vis-à-vis des événements de la géopolitique et surtout du point de vue que je suis un analyste théoricien en géopolitique indépendant, mais du point de vue de l'Amérique du Nord centriste, du point de vue du collectif de l'Amérique du Nord, qu'est-ce que j'appelle le grand collectif de civilisation de l'Amérique du Nord. Donc les Québec, les Québécois et Québécoises, on a fait ce que j'appelle le grand compromis linguistique pour avoir l'harmonie et la paix dans ce collectif nord-américain. Puis je dis, avant que j'oublie, que sur nos dirigeants, mon oncle Legault, mon oncle Carney, bien, en première place, notre intérêt fondamental, c'est d'avoir les meilleures relations possibles, économiques, financières, militaires, de défense avec les États-Unis. Ça, c'est comme le chiffre pi, tu sais, le symbole pi pour les mathématiques. Il n'y a pas de non ou peut-être. C'est constant, ça. C'est comme le symbole de mathématiques pi. C'est 3,1416. Ça ne change jamais, ce chiffre-là. C'est la même chose pour notre politique externe. Je ne parle pas de domestique, là, la politique domestique. Je parle de la politique externe, OK? Comme externe, quand ça vient à l'extérieur du Canada, du Québec, notre intérêt fondamentalement en première place, c'est d'avoir les meilleures relations économiques, culturelles avec les États-Unis. Il n'y a pas de peut-être ou non. C'est oui, c'est constant. Ça, c'est oui, 100%, constamment. Le roi est absent. Le roi est absent. C'est le temps pour la République, c'est ça que je me prononce. Puis j'ai ma théorie, ma trinité de théorie. Puis bien sûr, aujourd'hui, qu'est-ce que je vais discuter un peu, c'est que bien sûr, le Golden Dome des États-Unis, ça veut dire le cercle d'or, mais c'est comme un dôme, c'est plutôt comme une coupole, là, que ça, comme un dôme, c'est quelque chose qui couvre, là. Le golden, c'est de l'or, pour la défense. Fait que le Canada, il faut qu'on soit dedans dans ça. Puis je dis qu'on met l'épervier de l'Amérique du Nord dedans, par ma trinité de théorie, que je fais appel à tous et toutes à soutenir, vis-à-vis mon rêve, qui se manifeste comme le royaume de la déesse et du dragon qui danse, qui est fondamentalement un appel à un partenariat public-privé pour les 10 provinces, 50 États et 3 territoires. Ça veut dire pour les 63 entités politiques du collectif de la civilisation de l'Amérique du Nord. Donc moi, en tant qu'individu, pour le collectif, puis en faisant appel pour ce partenariat public-privé. Puis mon autre intérêt spécial, bien, c'est l'entraînement physique, soit la danse et mon sport préféré, le dragon arc-en-ciel. Monsieur, madame, 50-50. Je fais partie de la communauté de LGBTQ aussi. Je ne suis pas juste neurodivergent, mais je vis avec cette condition de neurodivergence. Mon cerveau, il y a des mutations, fait que je dois faire la gestion de ces caractéristiques qui peuvent sembler des fois étranges, bizarres et un peu mal comprises, là, parce que malheureusement, chez les autistes, chez les Asperger, le taux de sans emploi est très élevé. Très élevé, le taux de chômage, là. Moi, j'ai eu bien de l'emploi, j'ai bien aimé, j'ai perdu mon mes emplois, j'ai perdu l'opportunité d'embauche, les emplois, puis bien sûr maintenant, mais c'est des amis avec bénéfice seulement, tu sais. Prêter allégeance, les gens, vous êtes famille, puis je vais avec mon trône, avec mes cicatrices, puis j'étais attaqué par surprise dans un couple d'années. J'ai comme une perte de mémoire, là, de ce qui s'est passé avant 11 ans dans ma vie, là. Je m'en souviens bien de 7-8 ans, j'étais en dépression suicidaire. Chez les Asperger, les Aspis encore, il y a un taux élevé, là, chez les Aspis comme moi-même. Le taux de suicide, puis les tendances suicidaires, la dépression est très élevée, parallèlement aussi sans emploi. C'est encore que, parce qu'il y a cette malcompréhension, ce stigme. Tu sais, moi, ça m'a pris bien des années, parce qu'on m'avait diagnostiqué plusieurs fois, plusieurs personnes. Ils m'ont dit, ben, tu sais que t'as l'autisme, t'es sur le spectre de l'autisme, t'es Asperger, t'es Aspi. Puis j'ai dit non, jusqu'à finalement, voilà 3 ans et demi et plus que 3 ans et demi, j'ai finalement accepté, parce que j'ai les caractéristiques, puis les caractéristiques de l'Asperger, mes routines, qui sont au quotidien, des fois intenses, super concentrés, super dedans, tant que l'entraînement physique. Puis bien sûr, je suis sorti de ma dépression après 2017. Avant ça, j'étais en dépression, j'étais suicidaire. Puis bien sûr, j'ai traversé le Canada de côte à côte. Cet événement-là, ça m'a fait sortir de ma dépression. Sortir de ma dépression en traversant le Canada, j'ai eu comme un réveil. Je dis, quel grand et gros et beau pays que j'ai ici. Tellement de choses que j'ai à faire encore, à écrire des poèmes, des chansons rock'n'roll. Puis j'ai commencé mon entraînement physique, j'ai perdu entre 80 et 93 livres. J'ai perdu entre 80 et 93 livres. Et je vis avec, je m'en souviens avoir déménagé il y a 10 ans, je pense, quasiment 10 ans. Là. Ça va faire plus que 9 ans, c'est sûr. J'habitais à une place, il y avait beaucoup de moisissures à Côte-de-Neige, à Montréal, sur l'île de Montréal. J'ai un diplôme secondaire, ça fait plus que 20 ans, j'ai d'autres. Mais ma mémoire, c'est après 7-8 ans, après 8 ans, 9 ans, ça devient embrumé. Là. Après 10 ans, ça devient comme dans la noirceur. Puis après comme 11 ans, c'est comme c'est comme un blackout, là, mais des fois ça revient là, avec le temps ou avec. C'est causé des fois par un trompe, puis des fois ça revient avec un trompe, c'est un paradoxe un peu, mais je sais pas. C'est important depuis 2017 parce que c'est là vraiment que ma vie a changé parce qu'avant ça j'étais suicidaire en dépression. Je sais pas si j'ai cette petite perte de mémoire là, à cause de que j'étais. Je consomme pas de drogue, là, moi-même, même que j'ai acheté du cannabis. Ça fait plus que 4 ans que je l'ai acheté, puis j'ai consommé rarement, là, chaque 6 mois, là, un joint, la moitié d'un joint. Il me reste encore de ce que j'ai acheté il y a 4 ans, là, durant la COVID, légal. Là. Le cannabis légal, c'est légal depuis 2019, mais je consomme pas beaucoup de drogue. J'aime ça le vin de temps en temps, mais c'est sûr que j'ai un stress financier, là, mais mon stress financier, bien, je le vis. Je vis ce stress financier, fait que that's all avec ça, je rock'n'roll, mais je suis qui je suis, puis j'aime pas la violence, mais je suis hyper vigilant. J'ai vécu mon trompe, je me suis fait attaquer par surprise, je suis tombé, connais ma tête, j'étais à l'hôpital juif, ils m'ont recraqué le bras droit, j'avais le bras droit disloqué. Fait qu'ils m'ont replacé le bras droit, les docteurs m'ont mis sur des médicaments, j'étais dans un petit coma, là, comme un épisode des pirates siliciens, puis après ça, j'ai déménagé, j'étais en dépression suicidaire. J'ai traversé le Canada, en traversant le Canada, mais cet événement-là, ça m'a fait sortir de ma dépression. Fait que c'est des choses que je suis sorti de la dépression et je commençais à m'entraîner. J'aime savoir l'entraînement physique. J'ai créé mon propre système d'entraînement physique. Je suis très fier de l'avoir créé. C'est simple, ça ne requiert aucun équipement. Puis j'ai prévu, qu'est-ce que je suis fier aussi de mon travail indépendant en géopolitique, mes théories puis mes principes. Puis j'ai prévu qu'est-ce qui se passe maintenant en 2019, en octobre-novembre. J'avais vu une probabilité d'une troisième guerre mondiale. J'avais vu qu'il y aura bien sûr sur l'horizon une possible conflagration internationale dans les 7 prochaines années, commençant en octobre-novembre 2019. C'est là que j'ai créé mon propre système d'entraînement physique et j'ai moi-même fait plus que 372 sessions de mon propre système d'entraînement physique qui ne requiert aucun équipement, qui augmente, que je fais appel les écoles pour le faire, pour faire l'implémentation dans les écoles. Puis, bien sûr, je vous encourage à l'entraînement physique. C'est bon pour la santé, puis ça fait tellement du bien pour la santé. Là. Puis, moi, c'est un de mes intérêts spéciaux, là, qu'on appelle obsessif aussi. Je pense que je vais devoir monter par ici, parce que par là, ça bloque un peu. Fait que je vais me penser les jambes un peu. Parce que, il faut que je me force un peu. Ah ouais. Ouh, ça monte. Oups, ça monte en haut. Oh, je descends pas. Non, je monte là. Ah là, monte là. Ouh. Ah, ça fait du bien pour les genoux. J'aimerais ça me permettre un massage. S'il vous plaît. Bénévole. J'aimerais ça me permettre un massage, là, mais je n'ai pas d'argent. Je vais prendre un bain à la place. Gratitude. C'est important, la gratitude. Même si je vis un stress financier, là, je dois dire ma gratitude. J'ai payé mon loyer, j'ai payé ma facture d'électricité, j'ai du café, j'ai du thé, j'ai de la nourriture. Au début de la vidéo, vous pouvez voir, j'ai eu un don. J'ai un don alimentaire. Fait que ça a fait quelque chose de bon, avoir ce don alimentaire. Fait que c'est quelque chose que je dois avoir de la gratitude pour ça, là. Est-ce que je suis ici à la rivière, puis je dois voir des oiseaux. Je trouve ça beau, mais j'aimerais ça avoir un peu de couleur là-dessus. C'est blanc et noir, mais je sais pas. C'est beau quand même, là, comment c'est fait l'architecture, mais j'aimerais ça quelque chose de rouge, bleu dessus, là, mais comme j'aimerais peinturer les bancs là aussi. Amenez-moi je vais faire du bénévolat, amenez-moi surtout les bancs là, du Mont-Royal. Bon. Là, je ne vais pas tarder, je vais discuter de ma théorie de la refusion de la dette. Super important que je la discute. La TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, parce que bien sûr, ça sort d'être maudit par l'Asperger's, l'autisme français. Puis pour finaliser, qu'est-ce qui se passe? C'est intéressant que le Canada, dans la géopolitique, je parle, le Canada, la France et le Royaume-Uni, ils ont dit fait une déclaration diplomatique vis-à-vis Israël et le Hamas, le bande de Gaza. Gaza, qu'est-ce qui se passe, la guerre? Bien sûr, à Gaza. Ils ont dit que Israël, il faut qu'ils cessent leur action militaire quand l'aide humanitaire rentre l'aide humanitaire. Puis sinon, il y aura des conséquences. Fait que ça a changé un peu le ton diplomatique. Il y a un changement de ton, bien sûr, qui s'est produit vis-à-vis cette déclaration de qu'est-ce que, bien sûr, Israël il fait. Cette déclaration un peu, qui semble un peu, ça a changé un peu de ton, bien sûr. C'est quelque chose, bien sûr, qu'on doit, bien sûr, méditer, tu sais, parce que c'est une affaire de la géopolitique. Puis encore une fois, moi, mes révisions, là, en 2019, j'avais prévu qu'à cause que bien des nations, bien des États, ils n'ont pas été capables de résoudre leur conflagration du 20e siècle. Parce que ces conflits-là, l'Ukraine, la Russie, Israël, Hamas, Inde puis le Pakistan, ça date du 20e siècle, là. Ça date durant la guerre froide. Durant la guerre froide, qui a duré quand même plus que 44 ans. Là. C'est 1947, mars 1947 et décembre 1991. Fait que c'est plus que 44 ans, là. Quasiment 45, là, proche de 45 ans. Mars 1947 à décembre, fin de décembre 1991. C'est longtemps, ça. C'est longtemps, tu sais. Ça a duré longtemps, la guerre froide. Fait que c'est des choses, bien sûr, de cette manière. Puis j'avais prévu que ces conflits-là vont reprendre une grosse partie. C'est sûr qu'il y a plus d'analyse intellectuelle académique de ma géopolitique. Puis je reviens à l'événement, puis ma conclusion en octobre-novembre 2019, qu'il y aura comme une troisième guerre mondiale. Puis ça, c'est arrivé depuis comme l'invasion de l'Ukraine, le conflit russo-ukrainien, puis bien sûr le Hamas, puis Israël. Avec l'attaque du 7 octobre, là, l'attaque 7 octobre. Mais c'est sûr que moi, je peux faire des analyses, mais je suis pas sur le terrain avec 300 hommes et femmes, là, pour avoir une semaine ou deux pour explorer, bien sûr, pour voir qu'est-ce que... Tu sais, sur le terrain, tu sais, c'est sûr que je peux connaître les philosophies, les idéologies, l'histoire, mais quand même, du point de vue de en tant que je suis nord-américain moi-même. Puis là, c'est sûr que ce changement de ton vis-à-vis Israël, la Palestine, c'est quelque chose que on doit voir où ça s'en va. Ça s'en va-tu vers prendre une position puis mettre des actions concrètes ou juste symboliques, diplomatiques, par des paroles, je veux dire. Puis là, je ne veux pas tarder, je vais discuter de la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, parce que c'est important pour nous, pour le collectif de la Civilisation de l'Amérique du Nord, pour le Québec, le Canada, les États-Unis, parce qu'on est dans une situation similaire financière. Puis on est peut-être, aujourd'hui même, un effondrement financier, c'est possible à cause qu'on est surendetté, il y a un surendettement. Il y a tellement de dettes des cartes de crédit l'année passée, Canada et États-Unis ensemble, hein, il y a tellement d'endettement parce que le coût de vie a augmenté. Hein. Fait que, tu sais, ceux qui ont eu des cartes de crédit, puis payé l'intérêt, puis sur le public aussi, l'intérêt payé sur la dette publique l'année passée, c'était 46,5 milliards. Ça a plus que doublé durant la COVID et moi-même, je marque plus que 5 ans depuis que j'ai survécu la COVID, février 2020. Prenez en considération que l'intérêt seulement, il a doublé sur la dette publique. Si vous prenez en considération ça, puis en sachant que notre économie n'a pas doublé, c'est ça le problème, c'est fondamentalement notre économie n'a pas doublé. Hein? Ça a juste augmenté d'1 ou 2%. La situation similaire, financière, similaire pour un individu. Là. Si un individu, la situation économique, financière, en tant qu'individu, si l'intérêt double, là, plus que double, là, si le salaire ne double pas, il faut qu'elle, il coupe. Faut que ça coupe dans le budget. Fait qu'il faut bien, ça coupe dans le budget. Fait que si ça coupe dans le budget, là, qu'est-ce qu'on va couper? Vous allez couper quoi? En tant que ça a été de votre décision, j'imagine. Là. Vous allez avoir décidé. Là. Fait que vous allez devoir faire une décision, là, ultime. Fait qu'il faut couper dans le budget. En tant qu'individu, bien sûr, il faut couper dans le budget. C'est ça qu'on doit faire, nous aussi, dans le public. C'est ça, bien sûr, qu'il faut le faire dans le public aussi. Fait que c'est des choses comme ça qu'il faut qu'on fasse. Et regarde, et bien sûr, dans ces choses-là, il va falloir qu'on coupe dans le budget, tu sais. Et bien sûr, la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, fait que vous imaginez qu'on doit couper quelque chose dans le budget, tu sais. Fait que si on doit couper quelque chose dans le budget, parce que l'intérêt a doublé, notre économie n'a pas doublé, ça va être, qu'est-ce que je demande à mon oncle Carnet, qu'est-ce qu'on va couper, mon oncle? Qu'est-ce qu'on va couper? La GRC, l'armée, la police, les prisons, la sanitation publique, ceux qui ramassent les poubelles, le compostage. Ça ne peut pas être soutenu, on ne peut pas soutenir les mêmes dépenses. Parce que l'intérêt a doublé, vous comprenez? C'est le même principe mathématique financier s'applique pour un individu. L'individu doit couper dans le budget. Vous allez devoir couper quelque chose si l'intérêt double. Si l'intérêt double, vous allez devoir couper quelque chose dans le budget. Parce que l'intérêt, bien sûr, double. Tu sais, l'intérêt, bien sûr, double. Et ça, c'est une chose que vous devrez faire. Tu sais. C'est une chose que vous devrez faire. Vous devrez couper dans le budget. Un individu doit couper dans le budget, exactement. Ou que ça soit homme-femme. Si l'intérêt double, si l'intérêt double, ben, vous imaginez-vous que vous allez devoir couper quelque chose? Soit la cigarette, soit le Netflix, soit réduire une certaine consommation, que ça soit X, Y, Z. Là. Le principe s'applique pour les finances publiques. On va devoir couper quelque chose. Que je demande à mon oncle Carnet, le roi est absent, c'est le dame de la République que je dis. Mais on va devoir couper quelque chose. Qu'est-ce qu'on va couper dans les publics? Vous allez couper quoi dans le budget? Qu'est-ce que vous allez couper? Couper, bien sûr, dans cette situation, bien sûr. Couper la police, couper la... Ben, ça soit un service public, la sanitation, mais les prisons, le ramassage de poubelles, la défense nationale. C'est des choses, bien sûr, qu'il faut qu'on coupe. Fait que la TRD, c'est la solution, mais il n'y a pas d'autre solution, c'est ça le problème. Ou quelque chose qui ressemble à TRD, la TRD de la refusion de la dette, oui. Il faut que ça ressemble, il faut que ça soit vraiment proche, parce que c'est possible qu'aujourd'hui, ça commence un effondrement des finances publiques à cause de ça. C'est une situation d'urgence, puis c'est similaire, le public puis le privé. Les gens citoyens privés, la majorité des gens, mais sont surendettés. Un record de cartes de crédit, là, de dettes sur les cartes de crédit, c'est un record. Des dettes sur les cartes de crédit, ça vient sortir dans une couple de semaines, dans une couple de mois, j'ai vu ça encore. C'est pas un secret, là, ça. Le surendettement, avec le coût de la vie qui augmente, même qu'ils ont annoncé qu'à cause des tarifs, bien, les prix vont augmenter encore. Déjà qu'on est serré. Là. Fait que la TRD, je vous l'explique, c'est la solution, quelque chose qui ressemble. Vous pouvez vous ostiner tant que vous voudrez, mais c'est un paradoxe. Hein. C'est un aspect qui a beaucoup souffert, moi-même en stress financier, mais il faut faire la TRD, il faut implémenter la TRD. Ça prend un partenariat public-privé. TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette. Dans la TRD, dans la théorie de la refusion de la dette, et ça intègre la théorie d'intégration monétaire. La théorie d'intégration monétaire, c'est la théorie que les Européens ont fait de l'implémentation. Les Européens, les années 90, ils ont détruit leur banque centrale. Ils ont fait de la création d'une nouvelle banque commune. Les Allemands ont détruit leur banque centrale, les Italiens aussi. Ils ont maintenant une banque centrale commune. Cette banque centrale commune, bien sûr, c'est la banque centrale de l'Europe. Fait qu'on va prendre toute la dette, je vous l'explique maintenant, puis dans ma TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, ça contient dans d'elle la théorie d'intégration monétaire. Je vous l'explique. Fait qu'on va prendre toute la dette publique-privée, incluant mon 10 000. Moi, j'ai un 10 000 à la Banque royale du Canada. Fait qu'on va prendre mon 10 000, ton 10 000, toute la dette publique-privée. On va faire la conversion dans la dette publique. Toute la dette, on va faire la conversion dans la dette publique-privée. faire la conversion de la devise des États-Unis. Fait que toute la dette publique-privée, on va faire la conversion de toute la dette publique-privée. Toute la dette publique-privée, on va faire cette conversion. On va faire la conversion de toute la dette publique-privée. Mon 10 000, ton 10 000. Ben, que ça soit que vous avez quelque chose d'autre, 2 000, 3 000. Mais toute la dette publique-privée, on va faire la conversion dans la devise des États-Unis. Dans la devise des États-Unis. Tout cet argent-là, ben, on va faire la conversion de toute la dette publique-privée dans la devise des États-Unis. On va faire l'addition avec la dette publique-privée des États-Unis parce que les États-Unis et le Canada, d'un point de vue public et privé, on est dans une situation financière similaire. Fait qu'on doit faire binational simultanément, en même temps, simultané, on doit faire l'implémentation de ma TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, implémenter bien sûr la TRD Canada et aux États-Unis, ensemble, simultanément. Fait qu'on va prendre toute la dette publique-privée, mon 10 000, ton 10 000, son 10 000. On va faire toute la dette publique-privée ensemble. Toute cette dette-là, on va la mettre ensemble. On va faire l'addition avec la dette publique-privée des États-Unis. Cet argent-là, ça va être l'argent initial pour la fondation d'une nouvelle banque centrale, conjointement des États-Unis et du Canada ensemble, comme les Européens ont fait, mais par ma TRD. Parce que je vous ai dit tantôt, auparavant, que dans ma TRD, ma TRD intègre la théorie d'intégration monétaire. La théorie d'intégration monétaire est la théorie que les Européens ont fait l'implémentation dans les années 90. Fait qu'on va prendre toute la dette publique-privée. On va prendre toute la dette publique-privée, mon 10 000, ton 10 000. Tout cet argent-là, on va mettre ensemble. Tout cet argent-là, on va mettre ensemble. Cet argent-là, on va faire la refusion ensemble. Et bien sûr, on va faire la conversion de toute cette dette-là, bien sûr, de la TRD ensemble. Toute la dette publique-privée ensemble. Toute la dette publique-privée ensemble, la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette. On va faire la conversion ensemble, la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette. Canada et États-Unis ensemble. Fait que toute cette dette publique-privée va être l'argent initial, avec l'autre argent qui existe en circulation, initial de cette nouvelle banque. On va mettre en circulation une nouvelle monnaie qui aura la valeur du dollar des États-Unis. UI, on va faire la création de l'UI. U point unité, A point échange ou point universel. U point unité, A point échange ou point universel. U point unité, A point échange ou U point universel. L'UI. On ne s'obstinera pas, en anglais c'est pareil. L'unité d'échange universelle. Le UI. L'unité d'échange universelle. Avec cet argent-là, on va bâtir d'autres centrales d'Hydro-Québec, rebâtir l'infrastructure, financer les gens à l'entraînement physique, bâtir et construire les 44 tunnels. Dans le cadre d'une guerre thermonucléaire, bâtir ces 44 tunnels, et ce serait pas la montagne Cheyenne, 44. Dans le cadre d'une guerre thermonucléaire, on va les bâtir à travers le Canada, le Québec, les États-Unis ensemble, pour les 63, les 10 provinces, 50 États et 3 territoires ensemble. Puis bien sûr, on va financer les gens à l'entraînement physique, les gens au tourisme. On va financer la reconstruction des ponts, de l'infrastructure, pour le renouveau de l'infrastructure, puis du bien-être public. Fait qu'on va faire bien ces choses-là communément, ensemble. La TRD, c'est la solution. Il n'y a pas d'autre solution. Ou bien quelque chose qui ressemble à ma TRD, oui. Il faut que ça ressemble fortement, ma TRD, soit la théorie de la refusion de la dette, qui intègre dans ma théorie la théorie d'intégration monétaire, qui est la théorie que les Européens ont implémentée des années 90, ça fait plus que 25 ans. Plus que 25 ans, là, des années 90. Ils n'ont plus de banque centrale nationale. Les Allemands, les Italiens, les Français ont une banque centrale commune. Fait qu'on va faire une banque centrale, Canada et États-Unis ensemble. On va faire un grand recensement, voir la population qui peut servir. On va faire dans les deux institutions de partenariat public-privé qu'on va faire la création. Soit l'armée de la déesse qui danse, la Ligue de danse intégrée de de l'Amérique du Nord pour l'environnement, l'éducation puis l'action, l'armée du dragon, soit la Ligue de défense intégrée pour la SSD, Sécurité Service Défense, pour la SSD, Sécurité Service Défense, seulement de côte à côte, de chien à chien, qui fonctionnera seulement pour et par et quart et pour et par ce principe, qui est la SSD. Les S pour sécurité, S pour service, D pour défense. SSD pour la SSD. Sécurité, service, défense, sécurité, service, défense, sécurité, service, défense. Par ces principes. Bien sûr, pour l'assurance de la liberté aussi. Puis, si vous pouvez, il faut le faire. Hein? C'était nouveau dans le 21e siècle. Un nouveau concordium, un nouveau concordat du 21e siècle. Ça, je rappelle sur le Mont-Royal de venir, tous les chefs et dirigeants, mais sur le Mont-Royal, ben, vous êtes sur le Mont-Royal, ma deuxième maison. La TRD, c'est il faut faire. Aussitôt possible, c'est possible que je me rende chez nous. Puis un effondrement financier, je vois ça là, aux nouvelles. Là. Un effondrement des finances publiques. Là. Ben, on va devoir, entre le cornet, qu'est-ce que vous allez couper? Parce que l'économie canadienne n'a pas doublé. Fait que le même principe s'applique là. Par l'individu, l'économie canadienne n'ayant pas doublé, ça veut dire qu'il va falloir qu'on coupe quelque chose. C'est le même principe qui s'applique pour un individu. Vous imaginez, vous sachez, c'est le principe mathématique, financièrement, là, c'est le même principe qui s'applique. Fait qu'on va devoir faire ça, puis la TRD, ça va servir à beaucoup de bien. On va faire un grand recensement, voir qui habite ici depuis 5, 10, 7 ans, pour pouvoir servir dans une des deux institutions, les deux, parce que vous pouvez servir dans les deux. Par volonté ou par volontaire, mais il faut qu'on fasse un grand recensement, voir qui habite ici depuis 2017, et bien sûr un passeport et enlever la frontière, puis faire la TRD, puis avec la théorie d'intégration citoyenne, puis c'est ça le rock'n'roll, prêter allégeance, les gens, vous êtes famille, soutenez le rêve, ok, fondamentalement, appel un partenariat public-privé, prêter allégeance, les gens, vous êtes famille, votre dragon arc-en-ciel, let's go for the cadence, 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 by the river, Dragonomy special cadence. 11th, 12th, or 13th. Might be the 11th or the 12th or the 13th of the 2025. Property of the Dragonomy. Use if you're Dragonomy friendly, Dragonomy fan. Potential Dragon got to do that general war integrated total body training system if you can. Dragonomy workout that I created back in 2019. Let's go for that Dragonomy. Gotta get it for the go, gotta get it for the do. For the Dragonomy on the go. Let's go for the Dragonomy for the go. For the cadence, cadence, cadence. So that we gotta do on that cadence. Let's go for the Dragonomy. Let's go for the you, for the me. For the Dragonomy. Let's go for the X, Y, Z. Dragonomy on the go. So that you and that you know. Let's go by the river, by the mountains, gotta sing it. Property of the Dragonomy creative freestyle mode. 21st of May. Rainbow Dragon, aka General Cuckold. Rainbow Dragon, Clit Dick, aka Clit Dick Little Scar. Aka Limb Dick, aka Clit Dick 50-50. Hey, let's go Dragonomy, that's another day. For the butchers, for the farmers, for the nurses. Marching on, you know we say. For the butchers, for the nurses, for the doctors, for the firefighters, gotta see and gotta be. Hey, let's go by the rivers, come with me. Dragonomy. By the river, by the sea, by the mountain that we be. Marching in the big city. With the Dragonomy, coast to coast, ocean to ocean. With the Dragonomy, we don't need no potions. Hey, we are for the SSD, for the SSD on 63, for the SSD on 63, for the SSD on 63. Gotta be and gotta love it. For the firefighters, butchers, and the bakers. For the truckers on the road. Construction workers on steel toes. For the truckers on the road, and the construction workers on steel toes. For the construction workers on the road, and the truckers and the steel toes, the construction workers on steel toes. For the truckers on the road, and the construction workers on steel toes. Marching east or north and south, and the west and roundabout. Marching east or north and south, or that west we roundabout. Marching east and north and south, or that west we roundabout. For the plumbers, electricians, for the plumbers, electricians. Gotta be for gotta see, and that you be. Gotta go it for the going. Gotta be it for the swimmers. Hey, you know we gotta see it. Gotta be it to believe it. Gotta see it that you mean it. Gotta left and right and be it. For the lovers that you keep it. And you know we keep on dreaming. And you know we gotta see it. Gotta watch it, gotta sing it, gotta love it. For the bakers baking bread. And that's what the lover said. For the bakers baking bread. For the bakers baking bread. For the bakers baking bread, and the surfers that's a lead, and the surfers that's a breed. For the bakers baking bread, and the surfers got some lead. Gotta be left to sit. For the plumbers, for the bakers, electricians and the doctors. Firefighters, 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 marching up in sandals or steel toes. Sometimes gotta change the road lanes. SSD for the 63. For the kingdom we are not demons, we are dragons. I gotta get hydrated, and sometimes we gotta get on that hydration right here and just get it on the go, let it drip a little bit, and I'm gonna use a little bit of that XYZ, and that's what we're gonna get doing, a little bit of that here, man, in the public washroom. Gotta use it and gotta be on the go. Gotta wash the hands and whoop. Grateful, thankful when you open the door. You gotta get a little bit of that French. Click it. Oh yes. See you in another timeline. You just wash your hands here like this. And it's electronic, it's kind of cool rock and roll. You get the soap, on this side you get the soap, in the middle you get the water. and on the side you get the other rock and roll. So it's kind of cool how it's done. I gotta give a salutation. I'm just gonna, you have to wash your hands, I'm just gonna check a little bit on that food, see if it doesn't drip. I guess no, it's fine. I just wanna make sure that it's not dripping, because how I had everything placed, you know. So that's basically how we're gonna pack it again, but since I marched a lot with it, so I'm just gonna pack it back with that. And the raincoat, I guess I didn't need it for now. My anonymous friend, it's washed, it smells fresh. Trench coat, raincoat, take it to my anonymous friend for the financing, second hand, but second hand good, you know. So that's, so we gotta get that appellation, and I gotta get for now. And continuing the cadences, we're gonna go out. You got maximum 20 minutes here for the washroom. I guess it's good, and somebody can always knock, you know. But it's kind of cool washroom for the public, and we gotta maintain it, do our part, you know, in the maintenance. Don't leave it dirty, don't do graffiti, because it's kind of looks a bit spacecraft-like, spacey. Right? I like the kind of like orange, and the once you open the door, the flushing goes on, you know, once you open the door. So let's rock and roll. Still hours and hours away from my headquarters, so we gotta do continuing the cadence, continuing the march. And after this 3-hour video is done, we're gonna still do parallel 3 hours with that. So let's go. See, gotta go, and that's kind of cool what it is there. See, for the soap, water, and drying. See, flushes, and so grateful for that. And gonna hydrate a little bit some more, and we're on the journey continue. Cadence. Butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, firefighters, LOV firefighters, truckers, and plumbers, electricians, the welders, you know. Gotta rock and roll for them, you know, for the welders, the plumbers, the electricians, the bakers. Oh yeah, and we're gonna go rock and roll, and that's how we're gonna continue on the march. And we're gonna get doing on the hydration, and gonna get it for the butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, and the plumbers, and the electricians, and all those, of course, doing some of that surfing there. Gonna get some of that surf, and wow, it's kind of cool, you know, that you can surf here. And maybe one day I'm gonna come. I guess I'm gonna need some guidance, because we gotta get a little bit on that prudent side. But hey, continuing the cadence. Let's go. Cadence continues. Property of the Dragon Army created freestyle mode 21st of May 2025. 21st of May 2025. Let's go. 21st of May 2025. For the plumbers, for the bakers, for the butchers and the nurses, for the doctors and the firefighters, for those on a fitness journey, for those on their fitness journey, for those on their fitness journey. Gotta go, done coming up on the chimney. Give me some push-ups, give me some hogs. Drop down and give Dragon some squats. Photos in the fast food changing burgers. For the daycare workers changing diapers. We get dirty, get back clean. We are not some mean machines. We get dirty, get back clean. We can be some mean machines. We get dirty, get back clean. We can be some mean machines. We get back dirty, get back clean. We can be some mean machines. Left and right and east and west. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean. Montreal to San Francisco. 463. By the river, by the valleys, by the mountains. By the rivers, by the valleys, by the mountains. By the rivers, by the valleys, by the mountains. There glide dark gray clouds and me some thunder. By the rivers, by the valleys, by the mountains. Those dark gray clouds give me some mountains. Give me some thunder. By the rivers, by the valleys, by the mountains. Those dark gray clouds give me some thunder. By the rivers, by the valleys, by the mountains. Those dark gray clouds give me some thunder. For the rock and roll we go. And the year you hit the road. By the rivers, by the mountains. Dark gray clouds give me some thunder. Kiss the sun, the storm comes rainbow. Kiss the sun, after the storm comes rainbows. Kiss the sun, after the storm comes rainbows. For the justice and the free and the loving. For the SSD, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, Montreal to San Francisco. For the SSD. For the SSD, security, service, and defense, that's who we be. For the SSD, security, service, and defense, that's who we be. For the SSD, security, service, and defense, that's who we be. Changing lanes amid some planes. Gotta go and switch some lanes. Hey, 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 hey. We're not demons, we are dragons. Hey, 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 hey. We're not demons, we're some dragons. Hey, 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 hey. We're not some demons, we're dragons. Hey, yeah, yeah. Not some demons, we're some dragons. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Some of my dragons are black. Some of my dragons are white. All of my dragons, none of my dragons are born a dragon. Some of my dragons are white. My dragons are black, white. Some of my dragons are white, black. Some of my dragons are black, white. None of my dragons are born a dragon. Some of my dragons are black. Some of my dragons are white. Some of my dragons are black, white. Some of my dragons are black. Some of my dragons are white. Some of my dragons are black, white. Some of my dragons are black. Some of my dragons are white. Some of my dragons are black, white. Some of my dragons are black. Some of my dragons are white. Look at that. See, Aspies were weird like that. I noticed, I love the house. I could split 50-50 with my anonymous friend. You know, it's white and red, reddish, as I love red, dark burgundy red, but it's 3 white cars with black and red. Black and red. I mean, the tires are black and the windows are black, and the red, of course, for the kind of matches. The 3 cars, white cars, and the car, and they're kind of cool. You know what I mean? 3 white cars and the white house, and the black and the white and the red. It's kind Look very similar. Anyways, cadence. Some of my dragons are black white. Some of my dragons are white black. Some of my dragons are white black. Some of my dragons are black white. Some of my dragons are white black. Some of my dragons are black white. Some of my dragons are black white rainbow. Some of my dragons are black white rainbow. Gotta do it so you know. Gotta do it so you know. Gotta do it so you be. Gotta do it so you see. Let's go pledge your allegiance to our family, and that's what we gotta get doing with that. So we gotta get on that rock and roll, man, you know. We get on that XYZ and that's what we are here, dragons. Pledge your allegiance to our family, black, white, and rainbow. Sing that cadence as we go. Nobody's born a dragon, you become one, not even myself. Cadence freestyle.